Good morning, everyone. I am Vishwa Patel, Assistant Professor in the Department of Pharmaceutical Quality Assurance and Chemistry. It is great honor to speak with you today at the national level online workshop organized by the Sardar Patel College of Pharmacy and association with Gujarat Technological University on the topic of ethical use of artificial intelligence in the higher education, research, and productivity. On behalf of Sardar Patel College of Pharmacy, I extend a very warm welcome to our respective faculty members, esteemed guests, and fellow participants. I am happy to welcome you all to the third day of this national level workshop. Yesterday's session were highly engaging and insightful. We had the privilege of hearing from Dr. Nilesh Kumbar sir, who delivered a valuable session on empowering research writing with AI tools and techniques and journal selection for the fast publication. Today promised to be equally enlightening as we continue to explore how AI can be ethically and effectively integrated into academic and research environments. Today, we look forward to another insightful session on focus on harnessing AI ethically for research writing and publishing. We are honored to have Dr. K.S. Sowmiya Rani ma'am with us today, who will be sharing her expertise with us. So let's build on the momentum from the previous session and continue this journey of academic excellence. Now, I would like to invite Ms. Janvi Chauhan, Assistant Professor from the Department of QA Chemistry, to introduce our speaker. Over to you, ma'am.
Dr. Sowmiya Rani holds a PhD in biotechnology and started her career as an editor and speaker around 6 years ago. Her expertise in area of scientific writing and publishing. And she is a well-known speaker and trainer for harnessing AI tools for research internationally. She has been featured among the top LinkedIn creators on AI tools for research several times. Her lectures have reached audiences at more than 100 institutes including IIT Madras, IIT Hyderabad, NIT Warangal, NIT Delhi, VIT Sardar University, Uzbekistan, Zaved University, UAE, and several other institutes from medical colleges to engineering, arts, science, social sciences, law, architecture, management institutions, and industry audiences. Her talks explore the application of AI in scientific publication, improving teaching pedagogies, and healthcare. Her flagship 10-day online workshop that happen twice a year are much sought after. She is a recipient of research fellowship like a CSIR, JRF, DBT JRF, JNCASR Summer Research Fellowship, and DAAD scholarship for PhD scholars that enable her to do a part of her PhD in Germany. She has several publications to her credit and as an editor has edited well over 1,500 scientific documentation. Her startup Sowmiya's AWW assists researchers write and publish better manuscript through proofreading, rewriting, formatting, and other services. Thank you. Over to ma'am.
Thank you, Janvi, for the warm welcome and the introduction. And of course, thank you to Dr. Samresh for
welcome
for having me here. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let me start by sharing my screen. So is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am. It is clear.
I'm audible enough, I believe.
Yes, it's loud and clear, ma'am. Yes.
Good morning. Welcome to, this is day 2 of the program, day 3 of the program. Hope you had a good time in the earlier sessions as well. So let's start with a very simple question. How many of you here know this movie that is put up on the slide right now? And how many of you know the face that is alongside this? For those of you who do not know, this face happens to be that of Benedict Cumberbatch, one of the very versatile actors, one of my favorite actors. So this movie that you see, the banner that you see on the screen, is a movie called The Imitation Game. And this movie is set in the World War times, precisely World War II. This was a time when the Nazis, the Germans, they had an upper hand. They were clearly winning the war, and the Allies were at a loss. They did not know how to defeat these Nazis and bring the World War to an end. This so happened especially because the Nazis had a mission called Enigma. So today, when you and I add a new contact to our WhatsApp, what is the first message that pops up on your WhatsApp screen? It tells you that the messages that you will share with this person from now on are encrypted end to end, which means only you and the receiver can read the message. No one else can intercept and read your messages. This is a technology that is available to us now. We have the privilege as the common man to access such technology. But back in those days, during World War times, this was a technology that was reserved only for military communications. And this machine called Enigma was the one that was used by the Germans to encrypt their messages. And because it was so powerful, so smartly built, nobody could break it. That is when this amazing British mathematician called Alan Turing walks into the war scene. He and his team go on to break the code of Enigma, which earns him the name or the title of the man who cracked the Nazi code. And then the movie called The Imitation Game is all about how Alan Turing goes on to enter into this project and break the code. So why are we here on this weekend morning talking about my favorite movies and my favorite actors? Because I'm the speaker and not because I can do whatever I want. It is simply to drive home the fact that this man here, Alan Turing, was not just a mathematical genius, but he is also considered as one of the founding fathers of artificial intelligence, which means artificial intelligence is not something new. Even 60 years ago, even during the World War times, the terminology and technology of artificial intelligence has existed. Just that it belonged to very elite circles. It belonged to the circle of computer nerds, belonged to the circle of mathematicians maybe, but not every common man was talking about AI. Not every FDP was about AI. You just have to pick up the posters from 3 years ago. Today, every single FDP talks about AI. That was not the case just 3 years or so ago. That is how far we have come with the recognition of AI as a technology and also how widespread AI has become. All of this started in November 2022, thanks to this phenomenon called ChatGPT that this company called OpenAI unleashed on us. So ChatGPT was not exactly revolutionary in the way that it interacts with the am I still here and am I still audible?
Yes, you're audible. In between, for a few seconds, it was stuck. Now it's okay, ma'am.
Because I had to switch from one Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Yeah, so this might be a bit unstable for some time. Turn off my cam and then start again. Yeah, just give me a moment. Okay. So where were we? We were talking about how Dr. Samarish, anytime I'm disconnected, please give me a call.
Yeah, sure. Definitely, ma'am. Yes. Your video is not
primary
there.
Internet is gone. So this is my secondary connection. That's
Okay.
Okay. So about at least the way that track with ChatGPT is something. I think it's basically a chatbot. And chatbots are not new to us. Amazon, Swiggy, Zomato had figured out chatbots much earlier than ChatGPT. But this chatbot and everything else that followed, all of these Gen AI tools that we are talking about, it could be ChatGPT, it could be DeepSeek, it could be Gemini, it could be Microsoft Copilot. All of these tools, they are very, very intelligent chatbots, which meant that you can ask any questions to them. And as long as the information is found somewhere on their test data, somewhere on the training data, they can collect the information and bring it back to you in forms that is actually usable to you. So the interface was nothing new, but what it had access to, what it can bring back to you was revolutionary. And that is why we were also hooked upon ChatGPT, and we still are amazed by most of its models. Towards the end of last year, that is 2024, there rose a certain kind of models which were much more advanced than the AI tools that we knew. These were termed as the O series models from OpenAI. What it essentially means is that, unlike ChatGPT, where you ask a question, ChatGPT is basically a probability model. It does not understand your question, it does not reason, it just picks the word cues from your question, goes
Ma'am, your voice is
the
breaking
ChatGPT.
continuously. Yeah, continuous voice break. It's not smooth. Maybe some internet issue from your side.
Yeah, sorry. Give me a minute.
Okay, ma'am, no issue.
Yeah, is it better now?
Yes, ma'am, it is better.
So what I was saying was that towards the end of 2024, what happened was we started having this new set of models called the O series from OpenAI. Why is this important? This is important because up until that point, ChatGPT cannot really ask a question. It is basically a probability model that will go fetch the right string of words from its existing databases. But these O series models, they were actually kind of brilliant, if you want to call it that. They could reason. But even when the models started developing, even when the models were acquiring new skills, there still remained a lot of limitations. Even today, these limitations are true. And one of the most popular limitations of these AI tools still remains to be hallucinations. Hallucinations is when you ask a question, the tool is not able to go find the right string of answers. It does not simply say, okay, I cannot find the answer. Instead, it keeps pushing itself to come up with what seems like an accurate answer, but either it's inaccurate, the answer does not exist, or it gives you false sources, it gives you false citations. This is even true now, even with these advanced models like the O series models. Now, in the beginning of 2025, Jan 2025, somewhere in the second, third week or so, I believe, a new revolution happened in the world of AI in the form of this model called DeepSeek R1. This was important because up until the point, when you talked about AI, it had all to do with OpenAI, the Silicon Valley, and the US. No other country was competing against these companies coming out of the US. And in 2025, silently out of nowhere, after being in existence for quite some time, DeepSeek R1 became the rage, it became the talk of the town, and it became so popular that it sent shockwaves into the stock market. So the world of AI as we know it keeps changing. It's evolving, and so many new countries and new players are entering into the fray. And the latest sensation in the AI world is the release of this model called O3 from OpenAI slash ChatGPT. So, what is all the craze? How is this O3 better than any other model? For one, this is a reasoning model, which means it has a lot of applications in STEM, in research in general. It can reason with you, it can bring the answers out of reasoning, it can write codes in a much better way, can even interact with textual and as well as visual contents, images. It could process images. It could extract data and interact with you from multiple mediums. And this makes O3 one of the most popular and powerful models. Does it mean that O3 does not hallucinate? Not necessarily. As with every other model, hallucination has been a constant companion with these AI tools. So when we are talking about AI in research, how does this affect us? Hallucinations are really bad in research in one way, not so bad in a different way. Say, for instance, I am trying to push the boundaries of what is known and trying to find something novel, something that does not even exist. then a tool that hallucinates is good because it is going to keep running amok in all directions, bring me information that does not even exist, bring me thoughts, bring me new reasonings. That is completely novel, but might not be always accurate. So one of the huge threats of hallucinations is the lack of accuracy, and accuracy is one of the basic foundations on which research can rest. Therefore, hallucinations are a huge concern when it comes to using AI for research. So how can we navigate this quagmire of hallucination? Can we do something so that this gets better? Can we improve the accuracy of the responses that we get? Yes, you can. And the simplest way you can do it is by engineering your prompts appropriately. No matter how advanced the model gets, these models can only give you what you ask for. So if you do not know what to ask for, you don't get appropriate results. Say, for instance, let me pick the example of photosynthesis. We all have learned photosynthesis in our school days. We all know that 6CO2, 6H2, C6H12O6 equation. All of us do remember that as well. Say, for instance, I go in one of these models, any of these models, and simply ask what is photosynthesis. Maybe the non-reasoning models, let us say. Now, this tool, any AI, will give me a nice definition of photosynthesis, this standard equation of photosynthesis maybe, and then whatever we have learned during our school college days. Now, this is all great if I'm just trying to recollect my memory about this process. But what if I'm a grade 6 school teacher trying to teach photosynthesis to my grade 6 school students? Now, this information in its original form is almost useless to me because my grade 6 kids do not understand CO2, do not understand H2O. They don't understand chemical formulae yet, which means though this content is accurate, it is not appropriate. Why is ChatGPT giving me content that is not appropriate for my use case? Simply because I did not communicate my need properly to ChatGPT. Had I engineered my prompt to say, okay, I am a grade 6 school teacher. I am trying to teach photosynthesis to my CBSE kids. This is what they know. They don't know chemical formula yet. And I want you to give me the class content. I want you to give me assignment ideas. I want you to give me homework suggestions so that my students can have an experiential learning experience beyond the classroom even. Now ChatGPT understands the assignment and the entire output undergoes a drastic change. Now, let us extend this example to the case of a researcher. Say, for instance, I am a researcher working on photosynthesis, and I am invited to give a talk to a room full of researchers, university professors maybe, who are there to know the latest advancements in photosynthesis. For this audience, they don't exactly need a definition of photosynthesis. They already know photosynthesis. What they do not know is what has happened in the recent years. This research led to. Now, I'll have to re-engineer my prompt. I will have to tell these Gen AI tools that, okay, so I'm an expert here. I'm trying to give a keynote address or an invited talk on photosynthesis. I want only information from scientific literature, only from index journals, only from Q1, Q2 journals. Always recheck your references, add citations, add references. So basically all these Gen AI tools, your Gemini, your DeepSeek, your ChatGPT, your OSIRIS, let's leave out the OSIRIS for now because those are reasoning models. All the other Gen AI we are talking about, they are like this young intern that you can have. These young interns, they are pretty smart, they are pretty brilliant, but they cannot understand the entirety of the task. They cannot see the big picture, which means you have to break down the task into simple steps and feed it one step after the other into them so that the job gets done. That's exactly what you're expected to do with these Gen AI models as well. Explain it clearly and with a basic framework like this, which is the context, which clearly explains the task, gives very clear step-by-step instructions and clarifications and refinement as and when required, you can pretty much get these very AI tools to do very nuanced tasks like doing a good literature review or writing your next invited talk. So remember, prompt engineering is still the key. It is still valid even after the introduction of recent models. Your prompts are essentially the flags that should take you from point A to point B, point A being your question and point B being the answer that you are looking for or the answer that you deserve. So at the user interface, these tools are chatbots. But what are they at the back end? They are something called LLMs. We all know LLMs. It has become such a common word. So LLM are basically AI that can go into existing data, test data, and retrieve information as and when required, depending on the prompt that you provide. This, by design, means these generic AI we have cannot be creative. Why? Because they are not designed to be creative, but rather process existing information. This could be a concern when you're trying to find, say, novel research questions in your research area for your next research proposal, because these tools cannot create something out of nothing. They need test data, they need training data, they basically regurgitated, reprocessed information. And this is the second or third most limitation that you should remember when using these tools. Now, let's assume we're all sitting in a classroom. We're all in an offline session, sitting together within a room. And I set you this task. I ask you to take out your notepad. I ask you to take out a pen or pencil and then start drawing all of this. And I give you 60 seconds to do it. Now, let's assume we have completed this activity. It is 60 seconds already. Even without doing this activity with you all, I know most of your pictures would have looked like this. If you had asked me to do it, I would still draw the same house. Even though I live in the heart of a city called Coimbatore, somewhere in the northwestern part of Tamil Nadu, a pretty popular developed city, and I live close to the heart of the city, which means I don't live in a house that looks like this. I don't live in a house with thatched roofs. I don't even get to see such houses anymore. But I still keep drawing the same house. Why? This is called learned bias. I learned right from kindergarten days, this is how a house has to look like. And even though I have access to the real world, I still rely on that very primitive data that I was fed as a young child to keep recreating these different images of a house, of a mountain, or of a sun. Now, this bias is very real. We humans have so many different biases. The moment we see a person, we start judging them based on their looks, based on how they speak, based on where they come from, their food preferences, and whatnot. So throughout these decades, when we created data, when we created images, we embedded all our biases into our data. Now, when an AI looks at this data, an AI does not understand bias. AI has no access to the real world in the real sense, which means when it looks at biases, when I feed 10 pictures of houses that looks like this, and then I ask the AI to draw a house, that house that the AI creates will most likely resemble the different parts, different repeating parts of the houses that I used as the test data. Now, someone did test this as well with this tool called Midjourney. So Midjourney is a tool where you can give a small textual prompt and the tool will convert the textual prompt into a proper full-blown composite image. Now, when this happened for the first time, say around 2.5 years ago, this all looked very amazing because this meant I can just write a few lines about the image I want and the AI will create the image for me. I don't have to learn Adobe Photoshop ever in my life. That was a huge relief. Even today, these images are pretty amazing. But when we look at it closely, look at the image of the prisoner. Let us imagine we are all sitting somewhere in the US. Even then, do you think all prisoners look like that? To rephrase my question, are most prisoners black in the US? Not necessarily, but this is how the AI imagines it. If you get hurt, how many of you would be treated by a nurse who looks like this? More importantly, why should a nurse look a certain way and why should a cleaner at the right top part of the image look something completely different? The AI has introduced these biases because these biases had existed within the test data that we have created. So where is AI learning about all these images? From all the advertisements, from all the website pictures, from all the flyers, movies, and whatnot that we have created. And because there is a bias in the original data, the bias is reflected in the final output. Now, what does this mean in terms of research? A simple bias that you should be very beware of is the bias between open access literature and paywall literature. What literature do we have access to? We have more access to open access literature. Similarly, most of the AI tools, or I can almost confidently say that all the AI tools we have right now, they only have access to open access literature majorly. There are a few tools that have access to a part of the paywall literature, but not to the entire paywall literature collection, which means these tools have the same limitations that we have. Most of the information that comes out of these AI tools come from open access literature. Okay. So what's wrong with that? Even we access open access literature more. Nothing is wrong if open access literature was as legitimate as paywalled or subscription-based literature. Open access publications has a lot of flaws. There have been very greedy publishers like MDPI who get your money, get your paper published without a proper peer review, which means the open access literature is flawed by default. That is not always reliable literature. The information that comes out of this literature is not always thoroughly researched, which means when an AI tool takes up the open access literature information for answering your questions, you get a biased reply. You don't see the entire picture. You might even be working on the premise of inaccurate literature. So you should always be careful to make sure that you bring in sufficient quantum of paywalled literature into your research as well before taking critical decisions. Now, I'm sure you are all familiar with Usain Bolt. Anytime Bolt runs a race, it's like everyone else is trying to catch up and they can never catch up. That is exactly what we are doing with AI technology today. AI technology, the technology is very fast. It's just running so fast that none of the other aspects can catch up. The ethical aspects are still catching up. The legal aspects are still catching up. Countries and unions are still trying to formulate a uniform code for the use of AI when it comes to education and research as well. And then there are other implications like the legal implications, like the environmental implications of running so many LLMs altogether. And we're not even talking about all of this. We are so hooked upon the AI technology, which is not good. It is time that we kind of redistribute the attention and talk about the other things as well. So before we embark on a small journey of discovering a few tools and also what is ethical and what is not ethical to do with them, it is important to acknowledge that this world of AI is pretty complex and it is evolving every single day. And we humans don't understand all parts of this evolution, and that calls for a lot of caution alongside the excitement that we have for AI today. On that note, I'm Dr. Sowmiya, for those of you who missed the introduction. And in my own words, I enjoy doing three things in my life. First is being a parent. Second is being an editor. I have a small startup where we have a team of editors who help authors such as yourself, researchers such as yourself, to proofread their manuscripts, format their manuscripts, find the right journals, and then handhold them through the entire submission process so that they have help when responding to reviewer comments, when they want help with creating cover letters, and so on. And this journey has earned me over 1,500, nearly 1,700 manuscripts at least right now, which I got to work with individual clients, with their papers, with their manuscripts, with their white papers and whatnot. So most of the limitations that I understand about research, writing and publishing comes from my interaction with these clients. And as it so happens, majority of these clients are also faculty. And that is where the conversations around the limitations in teaching, what takes the most of their time, what could easily be outsourced also comes in. And it is these insights from these 1,700 clients or so that I bring into these sessions. The third role that I enjoy doing is, of course, speaking to people such as you, being a speaker who gets to travel all around India, talking to faculty across different disciplines. I majorly talk about scientific writing and publishing, how you can leverage AI for scientific writing and publishing, and also introducing AI into higher education, how teachers can use it effectively, how you can slowly introduce proper rules so that students can also start using these AI tools judiciously within their learning, research, and other requirements. So we also have private workshops in addition to those institutions which for say 5 days. So just give me a minute. So these long form workshops help researchers to have a holistic view of writing and publishing, not just AI, but then these sessions are also heavily supercharged with AI so that they get to use the latest AI tools as well. So this is where I come from. And to start this mini run through of AI tools, it is important to understand that a majority of a researcher's time is spent around finding literature, processing literature, and then bringing this literature back in various forms, say as a classroom session, as a paper, as a grant, or as a presentation, for instance. So this is where AI can help. One of the first places where it can help you is in literature search. So in literature search, there are three ways in which these AI tools can help you. At least that is how I would like to classify them. The first is where you have simple switches to your Google Scholar. So instead of running your search on Google Scholar, a simple switch you can make is to run your searches on what is known as Semantic Scholar. So how is this different? Basically, it is like Google Scholar, just that it works on semantics. When I give it 4 different keywords, it does not look at these individual keywords, but rather it looks at the interconnections between these words, how they are placed within a document, the repetition and so on, which means essentially I get lesser number of papers, but very good quality papers, very relevant papers. So how legitimate is it to use these AI tools? So when we talk about Semantic Scholar, this is essentially Google Scholar. It uses the same database. This means that there are no ethical concerns here. The only concern that you might have is it bringing me all the necessary papers? Sometimes it so happens that there are these very, very marginal papers that almost don't make sense, but then these are these papers that give you your eureka moments so that you can pursue your research question in a much more elaborate way. So apart from that, when it comes to tools like Semantic Scholar, not much ethical considerations around that. Then the second class of tools that we should be talking about are literature mapping tools, which basically trace the citation and reference connections between multiple papers to bring you literature. And one of the popular tools is LitMaps. LitMaps is not the only tool that can do this. You also have Research Rabbit. There is Insightful. And you also have tools like Connected Paper, Citation Gecko, and so on. So basically, all of these put together, they are literature mapping tools. On these tools, you submit a keyword and then pick one paper for the keyword. And based on the paper, what happens is these tools, they build a map. They build a literature map. And then in case of tools like LitMaps, it offers you the flexibility of picking between different algorithms. So you don't have to always rely on citations and references. You can also build your map based on semantics or say based on author networks. What are the limitations of these literature mapping tools in technically, but then also ethically? Ethically, I don't really see any limitations here because LitMaps, like tools or literature mapping tools, again, they are very legitimate search tools like Google Scholar, just that they work on a different algorithm. But what should you be concerned when it comes to the use of literature mapping tools? One potential concern is that they miss out literature because in terms of Google Scholar, Semantic Scholar, those two form the same class. They are search-based search engines, a keyword or a key string-based search engines. But with literature mapping tools, these tools, they follow a bottom-up approach, which means you start with a handful of papers and then you slowly build on papers at every single stage very intentionally, which means you are very, very narrow focused. You have this closed box within which you're doing your search, very efficient when you want only connected literature, but you might miss out on the periphery. You might sometimes not see those very, very loosely linked peripheral papers that might be useful. but that percentage is still very less. Litmaps and literature mapping tools are still a great way for you to find literature. A third way to find literature is to use tools like Sourcely. Here, you can simply throw in entire paragraphs from blogs, from news articles, and Sourcely will help you find papers. It will do the search, it will do your key string generation and run the search and come back with a set of papers. Now, this again is a very legitimate use of a tool because here you are just deriving literature. You are not deriving information as it is. You are not relying on the AI tool for the information. It just acts like a search engine, brings you the paper based on some filters you set, and then you get to decide which of the papers are legitimate. So up until the point of literature tools, there is no much case of ethical considerations, ethical breach, and so on. So when I opened the session with ChatGPT, I talked about how these general AI tools have a lot of limitations, from hallucinations to bias to being limited by their model of LLMs. They have limitations. And the clear manifestation is that when you ask a question, these tools don't always give you a citation. They don't always tell you where their information is coming from, which is not ideal in a research question scenario. That is why you should be using research-specific, academia-specific tools like Consensus. So when I want to use Consensus, I don't have to worry about prompt engineering because Consensus is inbuilt with the necessary prompts, inbuilt with the necessary instructions, which means I can simply go ahead and ask a very simple natural language question like, how does intermittent fasting help in type 2 diabetes? And this is the kind of summary that I get. One good thing is by default, or one of the good things is that by default, each of the key sentences have citations to them. And when I hover my mouse over the citations, normally there is a pop-up with the title of the paper and a brief set of information. I can click on the title and then that takes me to the original journal page, which means every single sentence on this summary is verifiable. I can always verify the information from the original source. Okay, so if it is that great, does it mean that this tool has plagiarized information from original papers? No, this is a summarizing tool, which means the content you see on the screen is not plagiarized. Okay, so if it is not plagiarized, does it mean I can use this information as it is on my paper? My answer is yes, you can, provided it is the first draft you are talking about, not on the final drafts, because this content, though it is not plagiarized, it is still AI-generated content, and publishers have very strict guidelines around the use of AI-generated content. It is from this point on that ethical considerations come into play. So is it ethical to completely outsource this data extraction summarizing process to an AI? How far should I let AI do the job? Right now, I think AI should be around 30-40% of your work, less than 50% if possible. The rest of the writing, the rest of the summarizing, the rest of gleaning information has to be heavily supervised by the human to make sure that your paper is an original reflection of your thought process that will get you through the peer review process in a much smoother way than if you use more of AI and less of human inputs. That does not discount the fact that these tools are the quickest way for you to go from a blank page to the first 1,000 words. If you are diligent enough, that should hardly take you around 5 to 6 hours, and your first 1,000 words is already ready. So once you move into these tools like Consensus, be very mindful of how much of AI-generated information you let creep into your final drafts. Then comes this class of tools like Elicit. You have Elicit, you have SciSpace, you have Answer This. So these set of tools, they basically take your question, they give you a nice summary answer, but beyond that, they also help you create these nice data extraction tables from hundreds of papers. So what this eventually does is it cuts short your time to 0 to reaching your research gap by several hours, if not by several days. To give you an example, say for instance, I am someone trying to find a novel research gap for one of my research proposals. How do I normally do that? I go around and see if there are any real life questions But then I also go into literature and I look for very specific sections in literature. I look for the research questions that the authors have picked, maybe the research gap, the limitations, and the future directions. So once I have this set of information from all the papers, based on this information from across papers, hundreds of papers sometimes, I can find a novel research gap that is popular enough, that is important enough for me to pick and write my research proposal on. Even today, even with the advent of AI, this process essentially remains the same. The workflow does not change. What changes is how do you quickly get access to this information of research question, research gap, limitations, and future directions from across multiple papers. That is where tools like Elicit come in, which give you this information in a neat tabular column that you can download. And with tools like SciSpace having introduce deep research features for creating this tabular column, these tools do a great job. Even then, there is the human component where you will have to sift through this tabular columns. If you had to sift through hundreds of papers, that would have taken you months. But now with these nicely gathered tabular columns, in less than a week, you would be able to arrive at least a handful of research gaps, one of which might really work out. Now, all this literature review, data extraction, they all work beautifully well when you're talking about narrative reviews. But when you're talking about systematic review process or SLRs, all of this changes because here, every single step has to be documented. You just cannot find 4 papers out of nowhere and include it into your literature collection. So there has to be mention of the databases. There has to be a mention of the strategy as well. So one of the simplest AI tools or simplest set of tools that can help you with SLRs are these management tools like Ryan and Covidence. So these tools are particularly useful and then they're also legitimate without much considerations around the ethical use because these tools, they don't exactly take decisions for you, but they streamline the process by which you take decisions. Say, for instance, normally SLRs are not written by a single author. They are written by a group of authors. And then ideally, you will have to designate at least 3 reviewers, reviewer 1, 2, and 3. And between these 3 reviewers, so first the reviewer 1 and reviewer 2, they go through each of this literature, both your proper whitelisted literature and also gray literature sometimes. And then they have to arrive at a decision as to if this paper should be included into this SLR or not. And in cases where reviewer 1 and 2 do not agree, reviewer 3 has to come into place and then make a decision for them either of these ways. Now, this process can be super streamlined with tools like these, which means there is no repetition, no missing data, no confusion as to what has been reviewed, what has not been reviewed. And these 3 reviewers, they don't even have to talk to each other. They can just do their job and their decisions will be automatically populated on the platform. Your literature gets streamlined and then you get the final list of literature based on Prisma framework or whatever framework that you want to fit into. And you essentially have a set of papers that can go through the next set of processes. Then comes the set of AI tools that help you understand papers better, like the one at SciSpace called Copilot. So Copilot is not exactly a standalone tool here. It is a feature of SciSpace. So on these tools, it's like Chat PDF. It's like Perplexity. Here, what I essentially do is, instead of me reading through the entire paper, I just upload my paper onto these PDF reading options. And these PDF readers kind of act like a supervisor who is available to me 24/7. Anytime I don't understand a certain section of the paper, I can simply highlight the section and then ask for an explanation. And the tool explains every single terminology, the implications, and everything. So making it easier for me to understand a paper. This is very much valuable when we come from countries where English is not our first language and formal English is all the more difficult. So that is where tools like SciSpace Copilot help me get quick summaries, help me get explanations, help me ask follow-up questions and get these answers very quickly. Now, the interacting part with these tools, no ethical concerns. But what do you do with these summaries? What do you do with these explanations? These summaries, these explanations, as good as they are still AI generated, which means you have to be cautious about using them in your final draft. Remember how I keep insisting that all this comes into play only in the final draft? Because in the first drafts, in the zero drafts, when you're still brainstorming, when you're still trying to get the building up and stand, you can keep using AI. But as you evolve, as your paper evolves, AI has to go, it has to be more of human. So the way we consume information has always, and with AI, now we have the possibility of listening to our papers. Though papers are not always published as podcasts, we can convert any written content into content that can be listened to by tools like Speechify, listening.io, and so on. Now here, there is no question of ethical breach. So these are some of the applications with zero questions of ethical breach, because here you are just listening to a paper. Instead of reading a paper, you are listening to it. The summary and then the further writing of whatever comes out of this paper is still by a human. So these are some tools that you can use without any concerns around AI use. Summarizing tools are one of the most problematic, right on par with the language editing tools, I would say. Using AI to summarize is a great saver on your time. Tools like Scholarly, for instance, where you can upload one or multiple papers, convert these papers into summaries, and then download them in different formats. You can have them as a Word document, you can have the summary as a PDF document, or simply as a PowerPoint slide, which you can take and start presenting. So if you are an expert in the field already, I don't see much problem with using summarizing tools. They are just saving you time in getting these answers, getting this information quickly. But if you are a young researcher who has no idea what this field is all about, what these papers are all about, then there might be some misleading information on these summaries that are not always great. So summarizing tools, for that matter, most of these AI tools, they work beautifully well. If you're already an expert in the field, you know what is right, what is not right. And when there is a misstep in the summary or in the information, you're able to identify it. But as a novice researcher, this could get a bit tricky. Use summarizing tools, but be a bit more cautious. So how about the AI tools where we write, where we dictate our notes, say, for instance, like Audio Pen. So on Audio Pen, this is not one step leap, it's several steps leap from our normal transcribing tools. So on the transcribing tools, normally you speak, they transcribe, and the words exist. But on these AI powered tools, what happens is they don't just translate your words, your spoken word into a written word, but then they also do a good job of proofreading, rearranging, finding better words, which means you have a ready to use content dictated from your notes. So how do you use this? You just add tools like Audio Pen onto your smart devices, like your phone, for instance. And then anytime you have this idea, you just have to start dictating into your phone, and the app converts it into written content. It's already on your desk the next day to start using. Then comes the question of using these imaging tools, because good manuscripts, they're not just text, they're also images, display items, your tables, and whatnot. Unfortunately, despite the availability of a number of AI tools, which are like Midjourney, which are like your Adobe Firefly, for instance, where you describe an image and the image gets created. You can create all these very novel, creative images, but the problem is publishers don't allow the use of AI-generated tools within your manuscript, but then also not even within the graphical abstract. So does it mean these tools are completely useless? Not necessarily, just that you cannot use them for creating any images within your manuscript. You can still use them for your presentations. You can still use them for your internal reports. You can maybe use them at certain instances, certain reports where they are really valid, making sure that you declare the use of AI in such instances. Then comes the question of statistical analysis, because even with ChatGPT, one of the places where these Gen AI really shine through is in writing code. Not that they did not make errors in code, but they could code pretty decently, like a mid-level coder, for instance. So mathematics is something because it has a set of rules. Anytime a process has a set of rules that can be clearly communicated to the tool, those processes become very, very amenable to AI, which means Statistical analysis is all about rules. So are AI better than humans in doing statistical analysis? Technically, yes, and they are faster. But then we have always had tools like SPSS. We have had tools like, say, R or Python for coding, for instance. So can AI tools replace these conventional tools, languages? Is it legitimate? Tools like Julius definitely try to do that. So on Julius AI, it is like chatting with ChatGPT. You just have to upload your data in an Excel sheet, and then you can ask questions in natural language, or you can give instructions in natural language. I can upload a set of data and then say run a two-way ANOVA on this data set. And provided I have clearly labeled my columns and rows appropriately, and make sure that all the data matches, they are all equivalent to each other and so on. This tool does a good job of running an ANOVA, giving you the results. What more is when you ask a natural language question, Julius converts the question into a Python code or into an R code, depending on what you pick. And then it runs the code on your data, comes back with information. Now, this is a huge leap for quantitative data. The only catch is, will a journal accept the analysis if you say it was run on Julius, or will the editor send you back to go and repeat the analysis on SPSS? This is still a very, very shaky decision. Nevertheless, that does not discount the amazing capabilities of this tool. If you have not tried out, you should. So one question that might be running in your mind is, are these tools free? All these tools I am talking about? No, they are not exactly free, because these are some of the top tools in each of the categories. And it has taken the teams more than 2 years to build from scratch tools that are come with great capabilities, which means they will not offer it for free after investing so much of money and man hours into it. But almost all of these tools have a free tier where you can check out the tool for a limited period of time for limited quantum of data before you decide if you want to go for the pro version of the tools. That is still possible. So now, say I'm not working on quantitative data. I don't have all this number after numbers. I am a researcher working on qualitative data, which means I have a lot of these non-numerical data, very, very subjective data, no uniformity whatsoever. Can AI also help me extract insights from such data? Tools like Insight 7, tools like Kindo, for instance, that's exactly what they do. Now, this is where it gets more tricky. At least with quantitative data, there are a set of rules. You know what you are looking for, what you want. But in terms of qualitative data, it is very subjective. With each cohort, what you get out of these cohorts, and say in a focus group, in a survey response, which is open-ended, for instance, it's so varied and you cannot really fix rules to it. So what most of these tools do is they go through multiple responses. They can group similar sounding responses and then glean insights out of these similar sounding responses. This is a great start if you are working with thousands of responses. But the same word of caution, you cannot stop with AI. You will have to go beyond AI and maybe ask AI to group these different responses for you, give you extracts from these group responses, but then also do a manual check to see you're not missing out anything, especially in something as sensitive as qualitative data. Now, when it comes to managing references, no tool, or there are AI tools like PaperPile, which work pretty similar to what Zotero or Mendeley or EndNote can do. They can sit within your manuscripts and then manage your references and citations, directly link you to your Google Scholar also. The catch is that all of these tools, including PaperPile, works only if you have used the tool right when you are right. So you must embed your citations and references through these tools, conventional tools like Zotero or AI tools like PaperPile for these reference managers to work. But then there are also AI tools like Tricks, where you don't have to worry about incorporating anything into your manuscript, your MS Word, or any different document. You can simply upload your entire reference list into these tools, pick a style of your choice, and then the conversion happens. Now, I know there are some protesters there in the audience telling me that, why Sowmiya, why? Why should I go and pay for a tool when ChatGPT and DeepSeek can do a great job of converting my references from one style to other? So if they work good, then yes, always go for the free tools. But then if there are some tricky things where you have to need much more targeted approaches, then no harm in giving a try to this tool called Tricks. And coming to the ethical part of it, when you use reference managers, they are some of the best, very legitimate tools that you can use in your research. Always use a reference manager. No ethical concerns. The only concern is concerns around some inaccuracies in some of the entries, but that can always be managed manually. So out of 200 references, if the tool can get 180, 190 of them good, I'm happy to do the rest 10 manually. Then comes the most problematic application of AI in using AI to improve your language, in using AI to paraphrase content, proofread, check for grammar, and rewrite. So when you use an AI or any tool for that matter for a simple grammar check, for a simple proofreading process, no issues so far. Because we have been using Grammarly for quite some time and everyone is okay with it. We hardly make the effort to learn the spellings for some of the difficult words, because we know when we start typing out on email, when we give the wrong spelling, then Grammarly is going to correct my spelling anyways. But the problem comes when you start using these tools more extensively, when you start using these tools to paraphrase entire papers, paraphrase entire sections. Now, the catch here is you originally wrote the paper. The original content is still human written. But just because you applied a layer of AI paraphrasing, the final output now stands the risk of being flagged as AI written content, even though the thought was yours, even though the original writing was yours. Because remember, AI content detectors, they don't have access to the history of your document. They just assess the final copy of your manuscript. And when that content on the final copy comes majorly from AI, that will get flagged as AI generated content. So paraphrasing is a very slippery slope. Proofreading, simple language checks or not. So be very cautious. And where possible, see if you can find more academically oriented tools like PaperPal, Trinka, Rightful, because they tend to give much better recommendations which are aligned with academic requirements. Then comes these magic wand tools that can write your entire papers. And one of the front runners in this area, even today, it still remains as one of the most popular tools to do entire literature reviews in 2 minutes, is Jenny. Now, with deep research being a part of several of the AI tools, Answer This can also write a much better literature review than Jenny. SciSpace can also do it, but it does not normally write literature reviews. It tends to write it in the form of summaries. So if you are looking for a rival for Jenny, I would say Answer This literature reviews are definitely the rival. This set of tools, they look like magic, because all you have to do is just describe the core idea of your literature review in 15-20 words maybe. These tools pick it up and write an entire literature review with proper headings, subheadings, nested headings, and then it adds citations. They also add references. These tools have also incorporated reference management into their systems, which means when I want to convert my references and citations into different styles, some of them have access to 10,000 plus different styles, and I can all do this in the click of a mouse. The problem, this entire content is generated by AI. Okay, so I don't have time, so I have used AI to generate content. What is so wrong about it? It is wrong simply because literature reviews, they serve a purpose. Writing serves a purpose. Writing is one of the best ways in which you can engage the cognitive abilities of your brain. And as you write, you think better. It is no secret. We all know that if we want to clear our head, take a walk, come back, write, your head is cleared, your thoughts are much more, they have clarity, and then you find your vision, your purpose, and what. When you outsource it to AI, you miss out on this great developmental opportunity. Point number 2, or rather that should have been point number 1, it is completely unethical to make an AI write your entire literature review. Point number 3, AI content detectors exist, which means content generated completely with an AI will be flagged as AI generated content, which means it is not publishable with good reputed journals that take AI content very seriously. Even otherwise, it's very lame to write an AI tool do the job for you, because the goal is to have AI as the assistant and for humans to evolve. So does it mean these tools are completely useless? Not necessarily. These are great brainstorming tools. Say, for instance, I have this one research idea in my head. And for the same idea, if I gather 100 of you inside a classroom, I give you a talk. I tell you, okay, go write a literature review on intermittent fasting for me. I'm pretty sure I'll at least get 30, 40 different perspectives from a classroom of 100 participants. So instead of you trying to write these 40 different variations to figure out which of it is more interesting, which of it makes more sense, which of it is of interest to a larger audience, you can let Jenny do the job. Push Jenny to write different perspectives. Jenny can even write opposing arguments for you. Push AI tools to bring in the different perspectives. You can vet and then decide which of these perspectives is really legitimate, is really interesting to you, has potential, and then you can start the writing process manually on that particular perspective. Now, that is a very legitimate ethical way to use these AI tools. Then comes the set of tools called manuscript checking tools. For instance, manuscript checker from Paperpal, where you can simply upload a manuscript and the tool will check your manuscript for 30 different aspects to see if your manuscript has passed the checklist for a journal submission. Now, this again is a very legitimate use, provided you pick a right tool. What is the right tool? A right tool is not just that has all this tall claim says we are number one AI tool in the world in this aspect, but rather a tool that is backed by a good company, backed by a good team of developers. Why is this important? Because here, when you run your manuscript for a manuscript check, you are running a raw manuscript, a complete set of documents that have not yet been published, which means if these tools are not legitimate, if they somehow use your data for training their own models, or if they upload your data or your manuscript to some random website, you risk the chance of your own manuscript being flagged as 100% plagiarized manuscript because the versions already exist on the internet. This is a very, very far-fetched possibility. Does not happen always. Even then, when I'm entrusting years of my work into an AI tool, I would rather make sure that it is from a good company, it is from a good team, so that I can protect my data, I can protect my manuscript. Say, for instance, with Paperpal, it comes from a company called Editage, which is a language editing company that has been around for a quarter of a century now, which makes them reliable. Say, for instance, when we talk about Trinka, that comes from yet another language company called Inago, which are again very popular players in the language editing field. That makes the tool reliable because the company also stands to lose their reputation if something goes wrong with your manuscript. Then we have the much feared process called peer review. And today we have AI tools like Paper Wizard that can do your peer review for you, that can at least give you a mock peer review. Now you can look at it from two frames of mind. One is when you are the author and you want to get mock peer review comments before the journal submission so that you can improve your paper and go with a better submission, giving you a better chance at publication. This is completely legitimate. The only concern is you have to make sure the tool is a good tool from a good team. Paper Wizard is such a tool. Don't take my word for it. Go check for yourself and then take that decision. Now, on the other side, when you are the peer reviewer, when a journal sends you a manuscript to do a peer review, then it is not exactly ethical for you to throw someone else's manuscript into an AI tool because you don't have the explicit consent from the original authors or from the journal editorial team to use an AI tool to do the peer review. You were expected to do the peer review manually. That is where it gets tricky. But when you want to run your own manuscripts, once you do the due diligence on the tool, I would say, why not? Get as many eyes to see your manuscript, get as many criticism as possible before journal submission. That always gives you a much better paper. Now, there is one other part of research called grant writing. So how much can we trust these AI tools like Grant Boost, Fundwriter, Grantable to write our grants? Here again, none of these tools come from very robust companies, I would say. At least I did not find a tool that comes from a robust company that is exclusively for grant writing. And even if they did, a grant rests on this novel idea that you have, this $1 million idea you have. I wouldn't simply throw this idea into an AI tool hoping that it does not use it in one of its test data and then takes the idea to one of my competitors. I would rather use AI for creating my PERT charts or creating timelines for my project or breaking down some of the objectives that I require breaking down, or say giving me the different subheads under which I should consider my budget allocation. Bits and pieces of my grant proposal, yes, but my entire grant proposal, I wouldn't do. How about these AI tools that help us make presentations like Dectopus, Gamma, Pop, where you can just write a prompt and the tool will create your entire deck, the complete presentation with content, with pictures. These tools also offer the possibility where you can upload a document and the document will be converted into a presentation, or where you can upload multiple documents and these documents will be compiled and made into a presentation. Now, here again, the same dichotomy of if you're an expert or if you're some young researcher. If you're an expert who already knows the field well, in and out, you just need a set of slides as a prop because the organizers wanted you to come with PPT, or because you want to have a PPT to keep the attention of your classroom on the board, then yes, run through these tools in 10 minutes, your presentation is ready. But if you're a young researcher who has not yet vetted the field thoroughly, then relying on AI tools to create your idea presentations might backfire very badly, because these tools, though they create nice layered content, they might miss out on some important information. And presentation speaking is all about a lot of practice. Good speaking comes from good reading. If you don't read those 100 papers to create those 10 slides, you will not have these small stories. You will not have these small comments that you can make during your speech. And without that, your speech becomes very flat. You don't get to answer your participant questions effectively if you don't read sufficiently. So if you're a young researcher, use these tools for fun, but don't over rely on these tools. Then comes the set of tools which help you improve your communication, help you practice your presentations like Udly, Poise, for instance. Now, here again, pick a tool from a good company so that your videos are secure. Your sessions with these tools are secure because they essentially sit with you on a video call, assess the way you speak, tell you if you're too fast, if you're too slow. They even assess you for your body language. And these are all sometimes very sensitive information for some of us. Sometimes we would be using these tools at the worst of our times, and we don't want this information to go public or anyone else to have access to our trial versions of the talk, right? So not much ethical concerns here. Just look for tools that are good enough, that are legitimate. Now coming to the question of how ethical is the use of all of these tools? I think I have pretty much answered this question in part at each of the tools. Now, what do the publishers have to talk about the ethics? So one place where it is very clear is you cannot use an AI tool to create large chunks of information and then add AI as a co-author. That is one place where publishers are very clear you cannot use AI. AI right now does not qualify to become a co-author. So where else can I use AI? As I said, use AI in the earlier parts of your research, earlier parts of your writing, in ideation, say in creating mind maps, in brainstorming your ideas, in creating your first drafts, in finding literature, in getting quick summaries of multiple papers, getting insights from your data. But the final output has to still be majorly AI free, which means a lot of rewriting has to happen by you or by the human editors who are on your team. Human editors, that is why they are still relevant, because AI generated content still has a lot of flaws. It does not understand the needs. And anytime you use an AI for something more than a simple language check, grammar check, edit check, formatting, for instance, it is always better that you declare the use of AI using statements that look like this. So this statement is from Elsevier, but I'm pretty sure all the other publishers also have very similar sounding statements where you're expected to declare the name of the tool, the purpose why the tool was used, and also assure the editors, reviewers, and your readers eventually that there was a human who verified all of this information before it came to the journal submission or the publication. Now let's talk about AI content detectors, because that has become a huge pain for several researchers, because even when you use AI minimally, AI content detectors tend to flag certain sections of your paper as AI generated. So how do I overcome this? The simplest solution, don't let AI write your papers. Let AI do everything else for you, but the actual writing, the actual thinking still has to happen from the human heart and mind. AI content detectors are here to stay. Turn it in, though it calls it off, puts it back, and so on. After all the dilemma, content detectors still exist. So be very careful as to how you let AI change the voice, change the style on the final marks. And because we are on call with several teachers, and also we are talking about AI in teaching, I just want to give you a very brief window into what is possible with AI in teaching. So you have these tools like EduAid, for instance, that take care of almost all the parts of your teaching requirements, right from designing those pesky lesson plans to determining what best or how best can these lesson plans broken down into each of these class hours, running assessments, even doing some of the evaluations for you. EduAid, for instance, cannot do a technical evaluation for you, but it can evaluate your student papers for language, for structure, for accuracy. Then you can take up the rest. EduAid also has a lot of solutions as to how you can gamify your classrooms, for instance. You just have to start with a topic, and then these tools give you suggestions for the entire stretch of the classroom activities. And then you have very specific assessment tools like Gradescope by Turnitin, for instance. So these tools, they tout to help you in evaluating not just MCQs, but even very subjective assessments. You just have to run it appropriately and then provide a key. And these tools, they evaluate the papers based on the key, assign marks, keep it all ready. Your report card is ready. You can just call your parent-teacher meeting the next day. The catch here is good answers don't always follow a key set. They don't always have to use the same set of keywords, which means the onus is still on you to provide sufficient leverage within the keyword set or the evaluation metrics that you set so that all students are accounted for. You have students all across the spectrum. Does your key account for the language, the possibility to retain knowledge, and also the way people express knowledge? There are so many layers to this, right? So one concern you should have when you use assessment tools is diversity a part of the design? Has diversity been accounted for? Having said that, even today, the goal here is not to replace our classrooms or replace our teachers by AI, but rather to augment what already exists with AI. The classrooms are still going to be led by teachers, but then these teachers are going to be assisted by AI. So that is the design you should be aiming for, not looking at automating everything, not looking at giving everything away to AI, but then leaving out those small redundant parts to AI so that you have much better chance to be the teacher that you were destined to be. The question that you see on the screen is utter nonsense at the moment because we have crossed this stage several months back, in fact. The question is no longer should we. The question is how are we going to help these young students use AI legitimately? And to help them do that, it is not really possible that we can simply bring in AI to our existing systems. You cannot set an assignment asking students to write a 1,000-word essay on a topic and then let them run amok, say you can use AI for this assignment. They'll finish the assignment in 5 minutes. It beats the entire idea of assessing students. So when it comes to incorporating AI in higher education, it is not as simple as what we can do with research. It's not like you can go fit tools into the existing frameworks. The entire landscape of teaching has to be reimagined. The way we show up in classrooms, the way we ask questions, what we assess for, how we grade these students, everything has to go a huge shift before AI would really make sense in both learning and teaching in our classrooms. So to kind of wind up this part of the session, I would say the problem here is not AI. The problem is how we want to use AI. The goal is to use AI for redundant tasks so that the human mind is freed up for the higher order creative thinking tasks and not the other way around. We should not be outsourcing all the difficult tasks, all the nuanced tasks to AI and then doing redundant jobs ourselves. Then we are setting ourselves for an obsolete future. So if you like today's session, You might also like our upcoming webinar happening in the last week of May, where we'll be specifically focusing on how you can speak better as an academic when you are trying to defend your thesis, when you are trying to give that invited talk, or say, for instance, you're just appearing in your classrooms. How can you make your classrooms interesting? Because we all want to be that teacher who gets remembered beyond the classrooms. I am just bringing you some tips and tricks based on the most popular TED Talks to tell you how each of your sessions could be a TED Talk in itself and inspire students. If you're looking for a much detailed program, we have our writing bootcamp coming up in June or possibly July, where we'll sit together for 10 days. Late in the evenings, the session will be online. And this will focus on every single aspect, right from finding that novel research gap, how to formulate your research question up until the point where how to navigate the peer review process. Why are journals rejecting my paper over and over again? Why cannot I get published in Q1 journals? So why is my writing not good enough? Or why does my writing have a lot of flaws? How do I train to become a better writer, better speaker? So all of this comes as a part of this writing bootcamp. And of course, for each of these aspects, we'll have AI tools that will make your life easier. So if you want to reach me beyond the session, this is where you can find me. This QR code will take you to my LinkedIn page. Maybe after the break, I'll also share the link. So LinkedIn is where you'll find me mostly talking about research writing and publishing. I also curate new AI tools as and when they come out. And I create these small lists, usable lists that you can save and start using. Not great with calls, but good with WhatsApp. So anytime you have a question, you can simply drop a WhatsApp message and then I'll get. If some of you are looking for manuscript editing services or want to be a part of our future programs, or say you want to conduct similar programs in your institutions, then again, you know where to reach me. Drop a mail or simply drop a WhatsApp message and we'll take it up from there. Now, this is a much more important QR code. I'll also share it at the end of the program, where it will take you to a feedback form where I would like to personally hear your feedback. And this will also give us access to you to share our resources on the list of AI tools and also details about our future program. So don't worry about this. I'll share links after the break. Now I'm going to take a few questions from the chat box. If one of or some of you want to also unmute and ask questions, please feel free to do so. Okay, so I just see a lot of good morning messages. Good morning to all of you. Yeah, Dr. Yogendra, I do agree that Elsevier is no good, because Elsevier has been this publisher who has earned humongous profits. Some years, Elsevier has recorded profits that are way above than Meta, for instance. So both ways is not right. Charging the author is not right. Charging the reader thousands of dollars is also not right. So yes, I do agree there. I picked MDPI as one of the examples, but yeah, the other publishers are equally bad sometimes as well. Okay, so I don't see any questions. So do you have any questions? You can go ahead and ask.
Yes, participant can unmute. Participant, you can unmute and you can ask questions.
Yeah, so you can just unmute.
I have one question.
Quick comments before we break for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I have one question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you told that tool about ground boost. So can you explain that tool grant boost? What is it, uses and how we can use in grant writing?
Which tool, doctor?
Grant boost.
Grant Boost. Okay, this is Dr. Suman, I believe, right? Yeah. So Grant Boost is a tool which has a lot of applications for grant writing. Say, for instance, you can simply throw in an idea, throw in your research idea into tools like Grant Boost, and they'll write your entire research proposal for you with citations, with literature review, with different parts of your, but they write a very, very basic proposal. It just has all the components and it has very superficial literature review, very superficial different components, but it is a great start. Only problem is you are giving your novel idea into this tool. So do you really want to risk it was the question that I wanted to ask.
Oh. Okay, Dr.
Yeah. So any other quick questions before we go for a small break? So if there are no questions, we could take a 5-minute break and then
Yeah,
come back.
so
When we come
yes,
back, it will be a hands-on session.
yes. By
For
12,
the
12 to, ma'am, by 12 to 12:30, we are having lunch break.
yeah,
So
yeah,
after this small break, half an hour would be session for hands-on training. Then again, 12:30 to 2, we are having the second part.
yeah, we could
Yeah,
do that.
awesome, ma'am.
So for the hands-on, don't worry, you don't have anything to be installed. We are going to just jump right into tools like Litmaps. I'll also give you a few resources that you can use for framing better prompts. And then it's all just logging in using your Google ID, your Gmail. If you have just logged into your Google accounts on your laptops, that is all that is required. You don't need any specific logins. So see you after 5-6 minutes. In the meantime, I'm sharing the feedback form and link to my LinkedIn page. So you can hit a follow. You can submit the form before you leave. Yeah, someone had a question? Okay, Dr. Suman, you were asking about Julius. So Julius is a tool
Julius.
that will help you analyze your quantitative data, which means data with a lot of numbers. Say where you run your ANOVA, where you run your students t-test and all these such tests. So on Julius, you can simply, I'll also show you Julius during the hands-on. You upload your data, ask questions, the tool does the analysis, it writes a Python code, runs the Python code, and then also comes back with the answers. I'm not a data expert, I'm a writing expert, but I can show you the very basic tenets of Julius. And once you see it, then you can always take it further with your own data, with your own specific requirements. Sounds fair? Okay. So 11:27, see you at around 11:30. So in the meantime, if you have any questions, keep dropping it into the chat box. I'll take it up once I come back from the break.
So, dear audience, there will be a 5-minute bio break. So please come back after 5 minutes. We'll again resume our session after 5 minutes. Thank you. So by the meantime, if you are available here, just let me show something. You will be amazed to know that there are some good speaker is existing in LinkedIn where they used to give lots of knowledge. So among them, Dr. Sowmiya ma'am is also there, which is going to guide us with her lots of AI tools idea and how it can be useful for academic writing and publishing. So this is one of the uh, flyer what I found in LinkedIn. This top 2025 academic content creators. You can see here AI tools and tech in research. Dr. Sumya ma'am is there because she is very active in LinkedIn and she used to share lots of AI tool information in LinkedIn. So you must follow her in LinkedIn. Definitely you get to know the new upcoming AI tools which is using by lots of researchers. So for academic writing, publication, AI tools, academic career, studentship and beyond. So these are the flyer what I have found yesterday in the LinkedIn and that's why I kept it. So you must follow these people to be update regularly.
हाँ मैम पूरा हैक हो गया
एप्लीकेशन सेंड कराओ एप्लीकेशन सेंड
So hi, welcome back. Let's go ahead and start.
Yes, ma'am, please.
So one of the first things that I want to show you is I'm not yet sharing my screen. Give me a moment. This one good resource for educators, but then it also has these nice prompting frameworks that will help you across different fields, but then also across different requirements, even in research and whatnot. So can you see the screen? This dark blue with 1 million in bold?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So this site is called aiforeducation.io. So I'm going to also drop it into the chat box. So this is basically a resource for educators to leverage AI better. And this resource specifically has a set of free resources, out of which you just have to scroll down and then you see this prompt library for educators. And then you can pick any of these category. Say, for instance, I want to pick lesson planning. And then lesson planning again. And pick lesson plans. You don't have to do exactly this. You can pick any framework. And when you pick a framework, what this tool offers is, it basically shows you how you can design a prompt. Say, for instance, under lesson planning, this here is the idea. So when you are trying to create a lesson plan, you should mention the grade and subject. You should mention the number of ideas and how these ideas are. Are they layered, or should they build on each other? Should they be independent? And then if there are some standards and so on. So this is a very basic idea as to how you can build a prompt. And below that, you have an example. So the same prompt will not work if you're trying to, say, write a prompt for an invited speech or write a prompt for a literature review. But this is a good framework. This is a good structure. You can adapt as and when required to your specific requirements. So going back to my example of photosynthesis, this is my basic prompt. What is photosynthesis? You see the result with the famed equation and all. But now, when I change the prompt as a school teacher, then the tone changes. Can you see the difference in tone? Can you see the difference in the words and terminologies used? Now, this is in much easier language that a grade 6 student can understand. The analogies are great, and it even derives from cross-subject links, because thanks to NEP 2020, that has not just affected higher ed, the K-12 education is also required to be interdisciplinary sometimes. So it helps me do that for my students as well. And then it offers activities so that my kids can have an experiential learning experience even beyond the classrooms. With full homeworks, everything is done. So the difference between this response and the generic response is not the tool. It's the same tool. It's the same interface. In fact, it's the same chat. The difference is my prompt. So giving you the next example. So when I want to write or when I want to gather information as an expert researcher, as a speaker, then my prompt also changes, my instructions change. And when they do, now the tone changes, the format changes, and all the key information have these appropriate reference citations. And what more is, even though I did not mention that I only want information from the last 5 years or so, I must have mentioned that I want information, recent information, possibly somewhere. Okay, until today, but yeah, I have not exactly set a time limit. Even without me setting a time limit, the tool has understood the task, and then it has given me information from papers that are only as old as 2019. So 2019 is what, like 6 years old? I wouldn't call that old. It is really acceptable even now. And the tool has also generated an appropriate reference list with 13 references. I'll more than take it for a first level response. So how can I make this better? I will have to read through the response, figure out what the tool has got right, where it is lacking, and then give another set of instructions asking the tool to fill in these gaps. This is what I may say when I mention about the expert novice dichotomy. So when you are an expert, you know what is missing. Maybe I do not know that. I do not know what exactly ripe is supposed to be. But then when I hear ripe, maybe I remember a different phenomenon that was discovered recently. And then I tell ChatGPT, okay, you've talked about ripe, but you seem to have missed the information about this XYZ. Why don't you bring me information about that? Now ChatGPT gives me better responses, or rather it gives me new information. So by this back and forth conversation with any of the generic AI tools, I'm just picking ChatGPT as the example, but this works beautifully across any of these generic AI tools that you're talking about. Sometimes even with very academia specific tools like Elicit, SciSpace, Answer This, and so on, if you can give a much more detailed prompt that communicates all your requirements clearly, then the results that you get out of these tools also become way, way better. Yeah. So this is the first example that I wanted to show. The second is, how does a literature mapping tool exactly find you literature? So I'm going to leave you to check out ChatGPT and consensus. So one of the first exercise that I always do on these sessions is to do a quick comparison of what ChatGPT says and what consensus says. Say, for instance, we can also do it quickly, but you just have to follow along, because I want to focus more on literature mapping and data extraction tools for the day. So say I ask the same question here. So this is my first question of what is photosynthesis. And this is the answer. So I get proper results. And I'm supposed to have a summary here. The summary is still, okay, summary is here. So even for a very simple question, I get answers. Yes, the answer is still very similar to what I found on ChatGPT, but these answers have proper citations. I get to read the latest papers that talk about photosynthesis, which might have additional information that my school textbook or college textbook might have missed. And when I want to read more about this particular paper, I just hover my mouse over the citation number 10, click on the title, takes me to a much more detailed page here. And if I do want to read the paper, I can just go to Semantic Scholar or just hit on full text and I'll land on the original journal page where I can vet if this information is accurate. I don't have to take the word of consensus for granted. And that is pretty special, right? Because keeps my life simpler and make sure that anything I write is accurate from scratch. So this is why you should be using academic tools instead of generic tools when you have a very specific research question. Might not work exactly well when you're trying to do this for teaching where you're just looking for generic concepts, but when it is research questions, academic tools always have an edge. So now let's move into this tool called Litmaps. So from now on, you can follow me along. I'm just going to check if there are any questions into the chat box. I don't see any questions.
Ma'am, you can share the hyperlink also in the chat box of each and every tools.
Yeah. So Litmaps I can add. So all you have to do is just go into this tool and then use your Google account to sign into the tool. Yeah. So you can just log in and here you can just pick your Google account, which I didn't have to do because I'm already logged in. But you will have to log in again. Just
Sorry, there is some glitch from my side, some internet issue.
yeah. So I think the recording was interrupted briefly.
Yes. Please, ma'am, continue.
Yeah. So I'm just giving them a minute to join in so that we can do it together.
They are already there, ma'am. So 147 was there.
No. For them to log into the tool I meant.
Okay. Yes.
So I believe you have all logged in and you have given the necessary keywords and you have landed on this literature map. So this is a map, it's a graph, which means it has to be interpreted with the x-axis and y-axis. So on the x-axis, the metric by default is the recency, and on the y-axis, the metric is citations, which means any paper that is on the top right corner of my map is the paper that was published recently with the highest number of citations. So ideally, out of these papers, I think these are my top papers that I'd be interested in. Maybe this is my paper 1 of interest, this is my paper 2 of interest, and so on. So all I see here are just circles and lines. Circles represent the paper. The lines represent the citations and reference networks between these papers. So why are these circles all not in the same size? Why are they of different size? Because that indicates uh, the individual citations of the paper as well. That is why you see all these small circles at the bottom of the map, because the y-axis represents citations and all the papers with top citations are on the upper side of the graph. So how the graph looks is not a problem, because we are not here to create the graph, but rather we are here to find literature of our choice, for which all I have to do is Litmap says these are my top 20 papers based on this input. But I don't want to take the word of an AI for granted. I would rather do the analysis for myself. So just give me a moment. So how do I do that? To read a particular paper, I just have to click on the circle. I get the title, I get the abstract. So just reading through the title and the abstract will tell me if this paper is good enough for me to add it to my collection. And what do I do next? Now I have to take two decisions. Am I adding this paper to my collection? How am I organizing this paper? Because on Litmaps, you don't have this folder system for classification. Instead, you should add tags, just like how you would add tags to your social media posts, say to your LinkedIn post or to your Instagram posts. So first decision, I read the title, I read the abstract. And what if this is not sufficient? I want to read the full text before taking the decision. Say I want to at least read parts of the paper before taking that decision. I can simply click on the title. I'll be taken to the original journal page. And if a PDF is available, Litmaps cannot give you access to papers where PDF is not available, but where access is available, you can read the full text. And if you like what you see, you can simply hit more like this. And then for tagging, you will have to go to the left panel, where scroll down and you see this feature called tags. Just hit on this plus. Now you can enter a name. So this is the name of folder. Say, for instance, when I'm working on intermittent fasting and metabolic diseases, I could have folders like intermittent fasting, one folder for liver disease, one folder for kidney disease, one folder for diabetes, one for obesity, for instance. So each of these folders, I can pick a color. So I get to pick all these different variants of a color, and then I also get to create tags. In my case, I already have the tags here. So I can simply pick one of these tags. So when I want to add a color or add an organization here, I just have to click on tag and then say liver disorder and then obesity. Maybe this paper also talks about diabetes. Just for the sake of demonstration, I'm doing it arbitrarily. If not, you'll read the paper and then decide on the tags. And then you keep doing this for more of your papers. Now, say I have done this for several papers. Say what am I especially interested in? These papers that have good citations. And then once I have vetted through all the papers, say I'm only interested in these 8 papers. The rest all papers, since they are a bit old, or say because they have a lesser number of citations, I'm not really interested in. So I pick the papers of my choice. How do I pick them? Simply by clicking on more like this. So all the papers for which I had hit more like this forms a part of my next level of search. I can just hit refresh. And now all the other papers disappear, and only these 8 papers are taken into consideration for my next round of search. Now, based on these 8 papers, Litmaps populates a few more papers. Now I can see that these are all nice, high highly cited papers, papers that have 700 citations, close to 1,000 citations, and so on. I read each of these papers. I maybe go to the full text of some papers, and then I add what I like. And whatever I don't like, whatever I don't want to be a part of my next
maps
level of
అని
search,
మొత్తము దాంట్లో
all I
కొడితే
have to do
మనం
is
లిటరేచర్ రివ్యూ సర్వే కోసం మొత్తం అన్ని చూపిస్తుంది. లిట్ మ్యాప్స్ మనం ఏదైనా టాపిక్ ఇచ్చాం అనుకోండి.
Yeah. Could you please speak in English? I believe this is Telugu and I'm not very well versed in it.
Sorry, madam. Actually, I am discussing with my colleague about lit maps in Telugu. We are both are attending the conference.
Okay. So the question is not to me.
Unfortunately, the audio was there. Sorry, madam.
Okay. Yeah. I was flattered that you would think I can understand Telugu. I do, thanks to Allu Arjun, but that is all the Telugu I know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, great. So you just have to hit on the paper and hit on create maps on the right side or discover more articles. You will have a blue tag, Dr. Amrita, that says discover more articles, right? Just click on that. You will be able to create the map. And then Dr. Shakari, this is not a free tool. It only allows you to check it out for once or twice. After that, you will have to go through the pro version. Bharati, I would not be sharing the PPT, but I'll be sharing you the list of tools, not just the ones I talked about. I have a much more comprehensive list that I will share about. I didn't find more like this option and color also. Have you logged in, sir? If you don't log in, you don't find those options. So only when you log in, Dr. Mithal, you would find these options. Yeah. So now I have written each of these papers. Whatever I want, I have added. Hit on refresh once again. Now this is a much more intense search. When you see this concentric circle happening, then it means you have reached the critical number of papers, and now the search is going to become much more intensive, which means the papers you find will be more relevant, but you'll only find less number of papers. You see here, when you hover your mouse over any of these papers in the outer ring, so all the circles on the inner ring are papers that you picked. These papers were used for the search criteria to find these more papers. And when you see, you can look at them and see that each of these individual papers have quite a high number of citations. And then they also have a lot of interconnections with papers on the inner circle. Yes, when you see those higher number of citations, they tend to be usually review articles. And you can keep adjusting because most of my choices for search, they were review articles. And because I picked review articles, the results also align more with review articles. But say, for instance, I want to focus more on research articles and less on review articles, then I should have picked more of research articles to fine-tune my search accordingly. Yeah. So any questions up until now? Yeah, I think I've answered. More like this, and the colors come with logged in. And even after logging, you don't see this, Dr. Mithal. I'll come to it. So inner circle is your search papers. The circumference is your newly found papers, which means you will have to, all the inner circle papers you have already vetted, the outer circle papers you should vet. Yeah, you can sync with Zotero. Just a minute. So I'm going to run through this entire thing one more time. And Amrita, yes, you can sync with Zotero, which means you can quickly move papers from Zotero to lit maps and vice versa. It is not available for many. Because Zotero is a free and open source tool, that is the reason why it is linked properly. Yeah. So let's go back. Or why go back? Let's just do a new search. So let's assume this does not exist. Close it. Go to lit maps and go to search. Okay, we're starting a fresh batch of search. Let me find a new. Maybe I want to know more about mangroves and tsunami. How mangroves can protect the coast against tsunami. I'm just finding some random keywords, okay? Doesn't matter what your keywords are, the process still remains the same. So here I have a handful of papers for results. and then say I want to apply this filter called since 2021. I only want the latest papers, not the older ones. And then I see there are very little papers. Okay. So maybe this was not a great idea. I would do instead cancer and old nanoparticles. Okay, so you should be asking me what happens when I have to really work on mangroves and tsunami. You just pick one of the papers and start working. Just that your lit maps would essentially look very thin and minimum, but it should be possible. So now I'm ideally looking for papers that have around 100 citations because it's been only 4 years. So let's pick this. And then someone asked, how do I create the map? You have to click on explore related articles. Once you click a paper of your choice, this pops up. Click on explore related articles. The map is generated. And then by default, you see more like this here. And the tag option is here. But I'll not simply use this field by reading the title. I want to read through the entire paper, or at least the abstract and the title. And when I do this, I hit on more like this here. The tag is just below. Hit on tag. And these tags, they are not by default. I have created the tags in my library. How do you create those tags? Go to this feature called tags on the left panel. Hit on the plus symbol. And then you can create your own folder names. You can change colors. So essentially, each folder should have a different color because that will help you quickly visualize what each folder is about. So in this case, I add 2 tags. I know this is not the right tag, but just for the sake of demonstration, I'm adding 2 or 3 tags which are not accurate. Because if I'm actually adding tags, I should have different cancers tags. And then I should have different treatments as tags, maybe. All of that should happen. But then say I don't do that. Instead, I pick a few papers. I don't pick random papers. I read all the papers and then I decide. So for me to go through a lit map with 20 papers, it's at least a job that will take me around 30 to 40 minutes. I'll have to read through the title, read through the abstract of all these 20 papers, and then quickly peek into the full text as and when necessary. And only then I can decide which of these papers can get added to my map. So say I've spent the 40 minutes and then I have decided these are the papers, all these colored papers, all these gray papers are what I want to be a part of my next search. And then I hit refresh. This will give me a much elaborate map. I have more papers added to my map. Now I keep doing the same thing. So I pick a paper, I read the paper, then I decide if I want the paper to be a part of my next search, add tags where necessary, and then I keep doing this over and over. So I can keep doing this until the point that litmap says there are no more papers to be found. Then it means I have followed this train of thought and found all the necessary papers. Once I'm done with this will give me normally a collection of around 60 to 70 papers, mostly, depending on the field, highly dependent on the field and how much of literature you have, and also what are the different filters you set. For most of my filters, because I set very lax filters when I begin, 60 to 70 papers is something I can easily find. And then I will subgroup it and then do more lit mapping and so on. So now once I have created these lit maps, it's all nice to see this map, add colors and stuff. But once I've collected my literature, lit maps is almost useless to me because I will have to have this entire literature collection on a reference manager. Only then I'll be able to automate my references. That is where if you have Zotero, you can sync your collection directly to Zotero here. But even if you have Zotero, you don't have to worry. Go into this feature called articles. you will find the entire collection for each of the lit maps. You can select all the papers or you can select specific papers. Go to this the second set of 3 dots here. You will see export, and then you can export it as a BibTeX file, as an RAS file, as a CSV file. If you're talking about Zotero, RAS works fine. If you're talking about EndNote and Mendeley, RAS does work, but BibTeX also works. So you can simply export your entire collection in one of these formats. It will be in a appropriate format. You just have to open your reference manager, upload file directly, and your entire collection from litmaps will be migrated to your reference manager. Because at the end of the day, that's where we want our literature so that we can automate the citations and reference generation process within our MS Word, or even if you use LaTeX for your writing, you still need a reference manager. So I think up until the point I've answered the questions. Okay, Dr. Mithil, I'm glad you got it. So the audibility problem, is it only for Dr. Shailendra or is it for everyone else?
No, it's perfectly fine, ma'am. It's totally audible, loud and clear.
Okay.
I think sir is having some problem with
So Dr.
audio.
Patel, I believe, I think the problem is on your end, Dr. Patel. You should check that. Yeah. Okay. So I think this would be a nice place to break for lunch. If you have any specific questions, only pertaining to litmaps, only pertaining to what we did right now. And what I have shown you right now is like 25% of what litmaps can do. This is a very, very basic run through, because just mastering litmaps can easily take up to 1.5 hours. There are so many of these nuanced features and ways in which you can quickly link it to other tools that will make your entire literature collection process automated and easier to handle. But since this is a shorter session, we're just getting small intros into these tools. Okay, I'm glad it's audible. So any specific questions? Yeah, you can export it to Mendeley, Dr. Thakur. You just have to use this feature. So export it as a CSV file, or as not CSV, as an RAS or a BibTeX file. And then on Mendeley, on Zotero, on EndNote, you have features where you can import reference collections. Use the import feature on your reference manager, any reference manager you use, import the entire file. It's just two clicks here, 2 clicks there. Your entire collection will be moved to any of your reference managers that you want. In LaTeX, you cannot directly extract the reference information in LaTeX, because the that kind of conversion does not exist. But what you can do is you can have your references into Zotero, and then when you're using tools like Overleaf, for instance, right? So there are ways in which you can extract reference information into Overleaf. So operate directly into LaTeX. At least as far as Overleaf is concerned, you should check that. But even with LaTeX, this makes it easier. You can, Dr. Thakur, RAS or BIB is completely up to you. Whichever file format you are comfortable working with. Most of the reference managers, they do accept both of these file formats. Reference list creation, no, you cannot create, okay, how to export it, you mean? Dr. Sagar, to use non-Zotero reference managers, you just have to, I'll even show you the entire process, then this becomes easier. So I'm going to download this as a RIS file, okay? This entire collection. And this is untitled 1 RIS. Now I hope I have Mendeley. Even on Zotero, it's a similar process. So on Mendeley, okay. Why am I on the web page? Okay. So maybe I'll see if I can set this up before lunch. I don't know why my Mendeley has been signed out. But I hope my Zotero is still intact. See, even on Mendeley, it's pretty much the same process. So when you go to file on Mendeley again, I think it is still under file, you'll see an option called import. So you can just hit on import and then pick the appropriate file format. Then your downloads, because that is where it is. I did not save it anywhere. And this was the file we downloaded right now, Untitled 1. Just maybe this is a much better folder without the chaos. Hit file. And hit on open. Next. Now my entire collection is imported into Zotero. Similarly, you can do it for Mendeley also. Because my Mendeley is logged out for some reason, I'm not able to do it. If not, you can just download it as an RAS file, web text file. And when you're on Zotero, you can just pick the entire collection, right click, and then hit on find available PDFs if the PDFs are not populated automatically. And Mendeley also has a very similar option. So you just have to find the import option on Mendeley, which will usually be under the file category in Mendeley on the left side. Pick import, pick the file you download from Litmaps, upload it, you're done. So any other questions? So we'll break for 30 minutes. I guess that's the plan.
Yes, ma'am.
And
30 minutes.
so I'll see you all again at 12:40. And I believe the meeting will be live. So if you have any questions, you can keep dropping it into the chat box.
Let's participate. We are having now lunch break for 30 minutes. We'll be right back by 12:40 sharp. So please finish your lunch and come back so that we will resume our session by 12:40. Thank you.
Yeah, just give it.
మేడం ఇది సమాధం మేడం.
So before we took a break for lunch, we were discussing about how you can convert any of these generic AI tools to work for your research questions. And then I showed you a quick comparison between consensus and ChatGPT and how prompt engineering kind of pushes ChatGPT to work better as a academic tool for research for your higher ed requirements and so on. Now, the next step is where you need a tool where you can ask questions directly. The tool answers your questions with nice summary answers, but then it also helps you move into the next step, as in move into the step where you can extract specific data from multiple papers and then use it as the starting point for your own papers, because writer's block is something that is very serious. Even the best writers amongst us sometimes end up having writer's block. We do not know where to start, what to do, how do we structure certain arguments and so on. So that tool that I would like to introduce is called SciSpace. So you can, here you can also use tools like Innocent. You can also use tools like Answer This, for instance, but I am going with SciSpace for now, because it has some additional features as well that I would like you to go through. So when it comes to SciSpace, I'm going to ask the same question that I asked consensus. So I should minimize this and throw it into a place where it will not bother us. So is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
So on SciSpace, there are 3 different kinds of reviews. Standard is fewer papers, high quality is more papers, but then deep review is something altogether different. So when I ask a simple question to SciSpace, is intermittent fasting effective when managing type 2 diabetes? So similar to what we did with lit maps, you can also follow me along on SciSpace. SciSpace right now is on their own domain. I'm just going to share the joining link on chat. You can just log in using your Google ID as always. And because I logged out for the break, I don't have access to questions. So if you did add any questions I missed, you can always please repost it or ask during the Q&A later. Okay. Yeah, so that is SciSpace. I enter, you simply ask a question into the search box, nothing more. You can also set some filters, but you can pretty much start with a question and then you can set filters at a later point here. So when I run a standard search, I get a nice summary answer from 5 of the top papers. When I do the high quality search, I'll get my answers from the top 10 papers or sometimes even more. Here, because I've already set filters earlier, the tool has brought me information from the most recent articles. And this is not just a summary, it also has the citations. And all the paper that has been included in the citations, all papers, they are listed in the, this is essentially a list of papers, but then it is not a simple list like a reference list. Instead, the papers have been moved into a kind of tabular column by default. You don't have to do anything. This happens by default on SciSpace, where you get to extract very specific information from multiple papers. So in my case, I have already added columns for abstract, for methods, for introduction, limitation, and so on. So how do I do that, or how did I do that? So normally, if you are new to the application, all you see is a blank tabular column, maybe with the summarized abstract. So you can pick your columns from the right here. Is a question? So let's go back to my own example of where I'm trying to find a novel research question. It means that I should have information like the research gap, the limitations. I also want to know what the key findings are, and also maybe what the future research is. You just have to pick the columns you want to add, and then the columns get populated automatically. But sometimes navigating these columns can get tricky. You just have to scroll down, and this is the scroll bar here. So you can then quickly move it as you want. So say, for instance, having this information on this tabular column across 10 papers right now, but then I can keep adding papers more than 100 here. This will give me a way in which I can quickly assess the limitations, assess the findings, assess the future direction suggestions that have been provided across these n number of papers. I don't have to necessarily work within SciSpace. I can always populate the table across hundreds of papers. And then once I'm done, I can export the information as a CSV file or directly as an Excel file, because that is how I mostly work. Not just that, remember, you don't only want the information extracted from these papers, you also want the reference information to be updated on your reference manager. So that is where you will be downloading 2 files. One is an Excel file for the actual information on the tabular column. The second is an RIL file or a WebText file that will go onto your own reference managers, for instance. Now, similar to, I'm not sure if we check filters or consensus.
Ma'am, you're mute. Ma'am, we can't hear you.
So when on a standard search, you ask a question, you get the summaries and stuff. But when you move into the deep review, remember this is a recent model, which means you cannot just ask a generic question and get away with it. The tool will push you to give a much better prompt. It will push you to tell it very specific requirements, very specific criteria, so that it can give you a better. So here it asks me, what are we measuring? So when I say effective, how is it effective? Is it effective at the metabolic? Is it effective at the biochemical level? What exactly am I talking about? And when I say IF can mean so many different things. Is it a low carb diet? Is it a keto diet and everything? So I would say include blood parameters, a keto diet, and mental health, and young adults as the age group. Now your deep search is not a very straightforward search. It's not like it just goes, finds the most accessible information and throws it back to you, but rather it goes into the resources, checks the resources, creates a draft answer, a draft response, and then it rechecks its draft response. It keeps iterating the draft response so that it can come back with a response that is more accurate. Sometimes, even despite doing all that, it does tend to go into hallucinations, but way better than what you can get on your standard results, provided you team up these responses with a thorough human check framework. You cannot just pick the answer that comes out of a deep search, but you can, considering that tools like SciSpace, they direct you to the original source. So they tell you, okay, this is where the original source is. Go back to the original source and always vet your information. So I'll just let this run because it will take some time. And then it will come with a framework, and then you have to go back and ask the tool to write detailed literature reviews and so on. So going back to my, I just went back to deep search, going back to my standard search. Yeah. So SciSpace is this one tool which started out as a data extraction tool. And then most of the ambition for these AI tools is to become a one-stop solution for your requirements. Why? Because researchers, considering that these tools don't come without a subscription, though tools like SciSpace, tools like PaperPal, the subscription is not much. It's like hardly 500 to 700 rupees every month. Even then, researchers would want one place where they can get everything done. So I need to do my literature review. I need my data extraction. I even need my imaging requirements all happening within one single subscription. So SciSpace eventually evolved into a writing tool also, where, say, for instance, I can, as I'm reading these abstracts, I can also include them into my drafts. All I have to do is just hover my mouse over the section I'm interested in, and then hit on Save to Notebook. And now you'll see that, okay, my notebook is already full. I'll delete this and then hit on Save to Notebook. Now, this particular summary has been included into a MS Word-like writing feature where I can continue writing my manuscript. I can do a bit of formatting there as well before I finish my manuscript and then export it at the final stage as and when required. So here, remember that this is an AI writer. Okay, say for instance, I don't want to transfer information from the tabular column. I want to directly use the AI writer. You can do that as well. On the left panel, you see the AI writer. Click on it. You'll come to this writing interface. Now, I have 4 points. I want the tool to help me expand on this thought. All I have to do is enter, and the tool will start writing automatically. I don't have to give a prompt. I don't have to pick choices. The writing helps automatically. Hit tab and then wait. The tool will continue this thought of process. It will continue writing. You can keep hitting tab, hit space, wait, and watch how this tool writes. What is the catch? This content is AI generated content. I have discussed that sufficiently. The second catch is that the information literature review. That is where it helps to instruct the tool to write with citations. So you have to go into this feature called Ask AI here, click on that and then hit continue writing with citations. Now the tool will continue the thought process with appropriate citations. The limitation right now is that SciSpace uses very limited citations within a paragraph, so hardly 2 citations. The good thing is SciSpace is still figuring out the writing feature, but it has figured out the reference management part, which means, say, right now the citations are in a Vancouver format. Vancouver format is when your intake citations are in the numbered format and your references are arranged in the numerical order. What if I want a different format? And the good thing is you can pick out of close to 100 styles at least right now, depending on the journal you want. I think not just 100, it has to have more styles. Now, say for instance, without any fancy styles, I just want to quickly convert my references from the numbered style to the author date format, which is called the Harvard style of references. So say I just pick any Harvard style, should work, and then I hit on that. Now, my reference list has been rearranged in alphabetical order. Not just that, my citations have also been moved to the author date format. So as long as I have my paper on the SciSpace interface, reference management is taken care of. So when these AI tools like SciSpace, Answer This, PaperPal, as they evolve, eventually reference managers might become obsolete because these tools also allow you to store your literature in what is called my library, my collection. Most of the times it is called library in one form or the other. And that will help you quickly manage your references as well. So in SciSpace, you can ask a question, get a summary, use the summary answer as a starting point to start writing your literature review or parts of your paper. Reference management is also automated. What else can SciSpace do? So one other feature that is pretty interesting is, and yeah, so one question I normally get when I talk about the tabular columns in SciSpace is, okay, this is all great that SciSpace gives me a tabular column, but I don't have control over what papers go into the tabular column. And also considering that several of these tools have more access to open access papers, what if I have a handful of paywalled papers and I want the tabular column to be created from my own papers, from my own local connection or collection? That is where you should use this feature called extract data. It's here, the lightning symbol. So you just have to use this feature where you can upload your own papers and get a similar tabular column on SciSpace. So apart from that, one other interesting feature is, of course, the paraphraser. So paraphraser is one place where on SciSpace you can translate English content into several of the local languages. It can also paraphrase from English to English, but that several tools can do. But you can do it in several of the Indian languages like Hindi, Bengali, Gujarati, Marathi, even you have Kannada, you have Telugu, you have Tamil. I'm sure of that because I'm a Tamilian. Malayalam also works, I know. And then, yeah, some of these languages, Indian local languages, do work on SciSpace, which means if you are looking to quickly translate your highly scientific content into a local language for publication in a paper or so, as in a newspaper or local daily, and so this paraphraser is good. Even when you want to do English to English paraphrasing, alter the length and variation, it's good. But remember, paraphraser is one of the tools that has the highest risk of being flagged as AI generated content. So please use it judiciously. Then you have this chat with PDF option where you can simply upload papers, and anytime you don't understand certain sections of the paper, you can ask for explanations. So you can ask for all of these. Ask for introduction summary, ask for paper summary. These are the standards. But what if I have problems with very specific sections of a paper? Then I just have to migrate to the section. Okay, where is my scroller? Okay, let's assume I don't understand the abstract because the option to scroll is hidden somewhere. Okay, it's here. Say I don't understand this conceptual framework. So just click on this, ask for summary or simply ask explain text. Now the tool will explain every single terminology on this particular paragraph. It will give you the context, it will give you the implications and everything so that you can understand the paper, understand the logic, the funda behind this conceptual framework. So all I gave the tool was like some 4 sentences, and this is how detailed the explanation can happen. What more is that this explain text feature works well for your equations, also works well for your tables. So let's see how the tool can help us understand this equation better. So just hit on explain math and table, screenshot. That's it. Now, based on the screenshot equation, the tool will explain every single component on the equation, what it means, how it all comes together to explain a particular concept, what are the implications, what are the significance. So every single question that you might have around the equation gets explained. All I gave the tool was just a screenshot of 3 lines of equation that makes no sense to me because I'm not a social sciences researcher. But then the tool has taken pains to explain every single term. What does alpha mean? What does L extract mean? And then, so what is the concept for which this equation has been created, the constraints, the implications, conclusion, and so on. So this is how, and this will also work for tables. Unfortunately, it will not work for figures because deciphering figures is a altogether different problem. But yes, so far it's good. You can also do some annotations on PDF and stuff. So any questions on this? I'm going to give you 2 to 3 minutes to Dr. Uma, I don't think it's possible right now. Make sure that you fill in the form and then we will get it to you. Yeah, don't worry. So as long as you have submitted the form, it will happen even if it takes a day or 2. I'll also reshare the links in a while. But the next 2 minutes is to explore the different features of size space and come up with questions if you have any.
So participant can drop your messages in the chat box regarding this size
Yeah,
space.
yeah.
If
So
you have
I'm
any.
just taking it up as well. Yeah, Mamata, just give everyone 2 minutes and then I'll repeat it once again. Okay, I'm going back a bit. Mega, I think the one I'm using is the paid version, but even on the free version, you'll be able to explore several of these features. And to answer your question, Dr. Mittal, I will, for referencing, what referencing exactly? Okay, for reference management. Yeah, I'll take you through the entire workflow of the tool after this 2 to 3 minute break so that you can all explain and come back with questions. Yeah, and Dr. Rajesh, no, you cannot answer. You cannot directly enter an equation and ask the tool. Instead, it has to be a form of in a paper where the original details also exist so that the tool can extract information and give it to you. And Dr. Amrita, no, it will not work on statistical graphs because statistical graphs are figures. It will only work on tables and equations. Yeah. So I have answered your questions. Please explore the tool for 2 minutes and then shoot the questions. We'll take it up. And I just have to step away from my desk for 2 minutes. By the time you finish exploring the tool, I'll be back. Keep dropping your questions into the chat box. Yeah. Okay. So I'm unmuted. Screen is not visible because I'm not sharing it right now. Uh, yeah. Dr. Uma, we'll go through adding columns. Dr. Kalavati, no, it will not give you calculations or it will not do analysis. For that, you will have to pick Julius AI. AI paraphraser, yes, Dr. Rajesh. I'll go through it once again. So let me restart sharing my screen. We'll go from the beginning, okay? So this is the deep search results that are here. Okay. So this is how detailed the deep search will look like. When I did a standard search, it was just from 5 papers, remember? But now you have a TOC and then you have a detailed literature review followed by a tabular column that looks way different. So this is more like a systematic literature review. So every single information on the column, it will be much more elaborate and much more accurate than your standard search. But deep search is only available on the pro version of the tool, not on the free version. So I'm going to start from scratch. So where did we start? I'm going to start by asking a simple question on the standard search. I'm just picking a random question. And by default, I didn't do anything. I didn't set a filter. I did not ask the tool to create a tabular column. I just asked a question. And the tool by default gives me the summary answer. And it also creates the tabular column. Maybe when you see the tabular column for the first time, you will not have these different columns. You will have to create the columns. How do you create it? On the right-hand panel, you have the options. You have the different insights for which you need columns. You just have to pick the columns. So in my case, I had picked columns like limitations, like future directions, like research questions, I believe, right? Findings, for instance. So you
You're muted. No sound from your side, ma'am.
do I use this AI writer feature? If I don't want to add directly from the tabular column, how do I find the writer feature? You have to go to the left panel and then you will find the AI writer here. And in cases where you don't want SciSpace to decide what papers go into the tabular column and you want to upload your own papers, scroll down on the left panel. There is something called extract data. Click on extract data. You will have a provision where you can upload your own local PDFs and the analysis will happen on the papers of your choice. Now, on the notebook, as soon as you write a few sentences, you copy a few sentences, you just have to give a space and wait, and the AI writer normally continues the writing process. If you want the AI writer to write with references, you just have to use this feature called Ask AI and then hit continue writing with citations. And now, say you have done this for sufficient amount of time. You have completed your literature review. And by default, the tool uses one of the reference formats. So what is the reference format that exists right now on my document? It is a variation Harvard format where the in-text citations have the author name and the year. And my reference list is arranged in the alphabetical order. What if I don't want this reference format? Maybe my journal uses a different reference format. All I have to do is just drop this menu here, one more drop-down menu, and then pick the style of my choice. Start typing the name of your journal or the style of your choice. In my case, I'm not picking a journal, but rather I'm just picking the style called Vancouver because Vancouver is the dominant style where in-text citations are in the numbered format and your reference list is also in the numbered format. So I hit done. Now my reference list is rearranged. The style has been changed and it has been numbered as well. Not just that, my in-text citations are also appropriately numbered. So this makes SciSpace the one-stop place where you can search for literature, extract information from literature, do your writing with AI assistance, but then also manage your references and in-text citations when you continue to write and finish the draft within the SciSpace interface. But now what happens once I finish my paper? I cannot just submit the SciSpace link to the journal. I need an MS Word document. Once you're done, you can export the document as a docs file and then submit it to your journal. Your job is done. This original file will still be retained here. Anytime you want to make changes, anytime you want to change the reference style into a different form, come back to SciSpace, make the change, export a copy, use that copy for your journal communications. So other useful features of SciSpace includes paraphrasing, where you can, paraphrasing is what? It's basically converting a content, reducing the word or rewriting the content or changing the tone and style. Normally, how do we do it? Tools do it from English to English. Here also, you can do it from English to English. That is also possible. You can just pick English here and paraphrasing will happen in English. Say, for instance, I want to reduce the length of the text. And then I want it to be very different from my original text. And then I say rephrase. Now, the paraphrasing happens. But I can also do it in a lot of these local languages. And considering that I'm from Tamil Nadu and Tamil happens to be my mother tongue, my first trial runs on Tamil. I'll also do it in Hindi, which many of us would be able to understand. So this is how it looks in Tamil. When will I use such a language-to-language paraphraser or a translator? This is essentially a translator. I will use this when I want to communicate my research on some local papers. When I'm trying to be interviewed for a local paper about my research or where I want to write a blog on my local language. You also have Chinese, all the popular German, Spanish. You have several of these African languages even, and so on. So this is in Hindi. Okay. So this is the paraphrase. Apart from that, yet another useful feature is the chat with PDF. So on here, you can upload any PDF you have I'm using something that I've already had here because it has the right examples for me. And anytime I don't understand a certain section, I just have to highlight the section and hit on explain text. That is something we did already, right? So I did not understand a small part of the methodology or, yeah, so what was that? So it was just the conceptual framework, right? And then just 4-5 sentences that I did not understand. And the tool expanded on this very clearly over several paragraphs. And then we challenged the tool to explain a equation. I just had to screenshot the equation by using this feature called explain math and table. And the tool could give a very thorough explanation of the equation with all the components, what it means, what are the constraints, the implications, and everything. So this helps me read paper more efficiently, ask follow-up questions. You can always keep asking more and more questions, ask the tool to cross-verify certain information. All of that is possible with SciSpace. So I believe I've answered most of your questions. Any other question? You cannot copy the tabular column as it is. So if you want the exact tabular column, you can download it as an Excel file and maybe download it as a PDF file and then include it into your Word documents. Or yeah, so if you're talking about an editable table, then yes, download as an Excel file, incorporate the table into Word. Dr. Thakur, this is plagiarism free, but it is still AI generated content. So you will still have to be cautious about using the content as it is. Use the content as the starting material, but majority of the writing still has to come from you. Amrita, no. Hallucinations are not exactly a part of these academic tools. And even if they hallucinate, we do have a checkpoint where we have the original source. So you will have to do a bit of vetting with the original source to ensure that there are no false informations out. If anything, these tools are more prone to omissions than to hallucinations, I would say. They tend to, this applies to all these tools, including Elicit, including Answer This, including SciSpace. They tend to kind of oversimplify things, make it too simple without touching upon the complexities and nuances. But hallucinations is not your major concern here if you have the right framework. Okay. So any other quick questions about SciSpace? Keep typing those questions. In the meanwhile, I'm going to set up Answer This for you. Answer This, again, is a pretty ambitious tool. So make sure that, did I share the feedback from again, the chat box? I think I did. Make sure you submit it because that way I'll also get to share all the resources. Because we have recorded YouTube sessions exclusively for PaperPal, SciSpace, and Answer This. Each of these sessions ran for like 1 hour or so. So you will have a good 3-hour resource exclusively for these 3 tools. There are some discount codes I can share. Yeah, future sessions and all of that, right? So make sure you submit the form and I'll share all of these resources together. So Answer This again is this ambitious tool which wants to be the end-to-end solution for any of your requirements. They have the infrastructure in place. Say, for instance, when you look at something called, okay, I have to share this tool with you. No, Dr. Kalavati, I think I already answered your question. It will not give calculations for analysis. That is not what Answer This can do. I mean, sorry, that's not what SciSpace can do. Answer This cannot do that also. Okay. So when you look at this prompt helper, you see that Answer This is designed to do all of this pretty much. So it can write a literature review, it can do quantum analysis, suggest research questions. So these are the things that this tool aspires to be. But Right now, the tool does a very good job of writing your literature reviews, giving you ideas as to how you can do literature reviews. The rest of it is still under construction. So I'll wait for the tool to develop on that. Okay. So here again, I'm going to go directly into the deep search option to save time so that we can let it run while we talk about the other fields. So what is my question? Okay, there is something about COVID patients. COVID patients are more susceptible to severe complications of diabetes. Okay, so I'm just picking a question. I am applying the deep research. I can also apply filters. So I want deep research and I don't want papers without citations. I don't want internet search. I only want research papers. And then good papers come from reading good papers, which means you don't have to do quality control, or rather, you should not be doing quality control only when you're picking journals where you want to publish, but you should also apply it when you're trying to find papers, which means I don't want literature from Q4 journals. Q3 is fine, but not from Q4 when I'm trying to write my literature review. So Q1 to Q3. And then when it comes to the publication date, say for instance, I'm trying to just compile information in the last 5 years, because remember COVID-19 happened only in 2019 and there's no point in me finding papers before 2019. And then the final date could be, so I just made a mistake there. Give me a moment. So my starting point is 2019, January is okay. The end date could be today. I want all the latest information as well. I've set the tool to the highest quality search that is possible with this tool. And then I set the tool to run on its own, where it will analyze a number of papers and come back with the literature review. That will take a bit of time. So in the meanwhile, I can show you what answer this has to offer, or rather what else has it to offer. Okay, that is lower than I want it to be, but it's okay, because deep searches take their own time. All reasoning models take time. It's good that they're taking their time. So apart from writing literature reviews, Answer This also has an AI writer feature, which is pretty much similar to what you would expect on SciSpace. So you can just open a new document, you can start writing, you can expect the tool to co-write with you, add citations, create your libraries, create outlines. All of that is possible with the write feature. And then you have library, obviously, where you save your literature. You can search for specific papers. Say, for instance, you have an idea in your head, or you have written a few sentences in your literature review for which the citations are missing. You can just simply throw those sentences into search papers and find papers. And citation maps here is something similar to what happens with lit maps, but not as interactive, as flexible as lit maps. Litmaps happens to be one of these tools that are kind of on the steeper end of the price bracket, but I still stand behind Litmaps because of the flexibility the algorithm offers. In case of Litmaps, if you're looking for free alternatives, then Research Rabbit is free, Insightful is free, but the flexibility of usage is not the same. So Answer This is also slowly trying to build this literature mapping interface. Not the best at the moment, but eventually it will evolve, I believe. And then you have this diagram feature where you can create different kinds of diagrams. So you just have to give a description and then pick a diagram type, and you can create diagrams, but very, very limited kind of diagrams. So say, for instance, I can pick pie chart and then see. I'm just trying this for the first time. I hope it works. COVID deaths in different age groups. I don't know if pie chart is still okay. We will see. Normally, I work with timelines and mind maps. I don't work with pie charts, or rather on this tool, I've not tried out pie charts. So the idea is actually pretty commendable, where you can pick a chart and simply ask the question and you get your pie charts. Aesthetics is still okay, not up to my mark, but then aesthetics is good. You can always make changes to the, all you have to do is just change the font and you're more than, I guess, right? So yeah, this looks nice. So where are the sources? How can I verify this information? Not right now, I don't think it's possible. But I believe slowly answer this once they have a feedback. The answer this is one of the young tools, but seeing how ambitious they are and how far they have come in the last few months, I think they are doing a good job. Okay, so this will take its own sweet time. We don't have to wait. We'll come back and check the literature review if at all it is over by the time we close the session. Usually it takes around 15 minutes. So the next tool, before going into the next tool, any questions about answer this? So answer this by default is slow. Even if you run a very standard literature review, very standard question on answer this, it is going to be slow. That is why I did not ask you to follow along because then we'll be stuck on this tool and we'll not be able to move on to the next ones. So any questions at this point, or can we move on to the next one? Okay. So when I don't see a question, I presume we are moving on to the next one. Okay. Can we use these figures? Not right now, Amrita, because see, with the pie chart, what happens is, where is this data coming from? Answer this does not give me the source, which means I cannot define the numbers that happen on the pie chart. So I'll not use it right now. But if I have the numbers already, say for instance, I have the numbers for each of these age groups from one of my sources, then I'll include all of that into the prompt. I'll say that create a pie chart. These are the age groups I want you to consider. These are the percentages for this particular set of age groups. Then create the pie chart and then I'll use the original source. Now I can use the pie chart simply because it's just a diagram. The original source is still from a real paper, which I have personally vetted. I guess that's the best way you can use it, Dr. Amrita. Dr. Rajesh. Answer this. The main purpose is the goal or the vision they have, as I assume, is they want the tool to be your co-writer, co-creator, right from literature review to your images. And all of this should happen with AI-powered tools and features. So I'll show you the AI literature review. That is one of the best features on Answer This. You will have a thorough literature review that will easily incorporate 30, 40 different references with reference management possibilities that are much more advanced than SciSpace. Right now, no. SciSpace is the advanced feature right now. Which one is the best? Depends on what you're looking for, Dr. Tripti. If your goal is to have these nice data extraction tables, to interact with individual papers much more seamlessly, to upload your own papers and extract data sets, then SciSpace is definitely leading the lane. But if your goal is to directly generate a literature review and then use that as a draft and go from there, then Answer This does a much better job. So Dr. Rajesh, ethically is a continuation of, yeah, so ethically, all these functionalities can still be used ethically, considering that they still remain on the sidelines and the researcher is the main writer, main researcher. Dr. Sasmal, no issues of plagiarism, but issues of AI-generated content. None of the content that come out of any of these AI tools can be used as it is. Just look at them as Google Answers. So if you ask for something to Google, consider the AI-powered Google and the AI-powered Google Scholar that we are going to have pretty soon. Will you use the content as it is? You will not, simply because it is not your content. Similarly, you ask a question, instead of Google, you ask the question to one of these AI tools. The answer is right, it is perfect, but you don't use it as it is. simply because you did not create the content, right? So I think the same set of ground rules still apply. Dr. Shailendra Patil, thank you for appreciating this to Dr. Yashwani as well. So Dr. Hrishikesh. Okay, so I lost my mouse and okay. No, Dr. Hrishikesh, these tools don't have access to all of the electronically available data, and that is their limitation. Most of these tools have access to the complete Google Scholar data set. Some of them also include the PubMed data set. Some of them also use the preprint servers, like the popular servers, preprint servers you have. They also have access to them, but when you're talking about paywall papers, no. But open access paper, yes. Depends on each of the publishers, but majorly, yes. Yeah. So most say Litmaps doesn't need access to full text. It does need access to abstract, the reference list and the title, and it is good enough. But then when it comes to all these size-based elicit answer this, they claim to have access to a small percentage of paywall literature, but not all of them. None of the tools have access to all of these this complete paywall literature. That's a huge dream, right? If that were as simple, ONOS would be functional right now in India. So we were supposed to have ONOS in what, January, February, and now I don't even get to hear any updates on the ONOS scheme, because getting access to all paywall papers across multiple publishers is not a joke. It takes quite a lot of money. It takes quite a lot of efforts and frameworks in place which don't exist right now. Maybe growing up, these tools might bring in access to the paywall papers. If Turnitin can do it, they can simply follow the same model from Turnitin. But then doing that will make these tools costly, considering that these are young tools. They want your attention. They want you to come try out these tools and get used to tools. They don't want to block you out with subscriptions that are like what, 5,000, 6,000 rupees a month. In that case, these tools will not get the exposure. They'll not be able to build the tools. Most of these tools are still in the beta version, right? So that's the reason why these are not still up to the mark. But yeah, maybe in a few years, when AI becomes mainstream, when policies are in place, when these tools know that they will not be simply driven out of the market by policy, like TikTok, for instance, then they might boldly invest in the complete paywall repository. Might work, but it's going to take some time. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Mori. I'm happy that you like this session. So our deep search review on Answer This is ready. And I like this dynamic windows on Answer This, where you can actually see the papers on the right-hand panel. You can actually see the literature review on your left panel. So remember my prompt, it was a very, very simple prompt. And based on that prompt, Answer This has created this humongous literature review that is easily 5,000 words long, at least 4,000 words long or so. And this is your reference management. So how many articles has Answer This brought to my literature review? Around 18, 20. Yeah, because I have added a lot of constraints. So I only wanted papers with 20 citations at least. I only wanted papers from 2019 because COVID-19 happened only after that. So because of the constraints, the number of references is 18. But if you are picking a topic that is much more versatile, I have seen Answer This use more than 40 plus references in the very simple literature review. And the reference management is very similar to what you see with SciSpace, but the number of reference styles available are slightly limited. So right now we have the Vancouver citation. I can, okay, it's the Chicago, but then offshoot of Vancouver. Let's move to Harvard. Then, yeah, the in-text citation changes. The reference list also changes. But what I don't like about Answer This at this point is, okay, the reference list change is not really complete. It's not always accurate, but it will eventually happen, I believe. So for now, this place where you get this nice nicely brainstormed idea for an entire literature review. That is the most important application. That is what impresses most of the users when it comes to answer this. Because several of you were interested in data analysis. And fair warning, once again, I am not a data person. Okay, so excuse me if I use the wrong kind of data, ask the wrong questions. I just want to demonstrate how the tool works. After that, I am leaving it up to you to use it as you want. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Disha. I'm glad you enjoyed the session. Okay, there is a login. And this deep search I ran on Answer This might not be accessible if you are not on the Pro version. So, where is our data? So this is the interface. And now here, all I'm going to do is just upload data. I have a very roughly put together data set for the demo. So I'm just going to pick this data set. I think it's just control treatment 1, treatment 2. 20 values under each of these columns. Very, very simple, very straightforward. Okay. So now this is the table. So the data set I've uploaded. What do I want Julius to do? So maybe I want Julius to. So it also gives me a clear description of what is available on this data set, what is available on this file that I have uploaded. So say run now. So I say run an ANOVA on the data set. And you don't simply run an ANOVA. There are so many parameters you have to consider, so many other nicks and knacks that you should add. Forgive the biologist here, but just look at the process. So I asked a simple question, and now the tool is going through the process of converting my natural language question. I didn't have to know any of these critical terminologies or stuff. Very simple question, very basic question, very basic request. And then the tool has converted my request into a proper Python code. Then from Python, it has run the test and it gives me the statistical values, and it also explains the text. So it tells me that there are significant differences between the means of these 3 groups, which is nice because I want my group A and group B to be significantly different from my control. That is the entire goal of a particular experiment. Maybe I was testing a drug between 3 sets of mice, or I was testing something between 3 sets of cell lines, and I'm checking for mortality of the cell lines. I'm checking for the weight of the mice, for instance. Eventually, it has to be significantly different. So when it's significantly different, it is nice. Yeah. And then, yeah, if you need visualization, okay, say I just simply say visualize this data appropriate. Usually that happens to be a bar graph in my case. Okay, so it feels a box plot is more appropriate. Okay, I leave it to the expert to understand. So you don't like a box plot, you want it to be represented in a very different form, you can simply do that. You can download these representations and then you can simply add it to your paper, provided you also add a acknowledgement, a disclaimer at the end, because remember, this is still an AI tool. Publishers are still getting used to the idea of you running automated AI analysis on your quantitative data. Therefore, they might like it, they might not like it. The goal here for you is to include the data, include the visualizations, and then also declare the use of AI. If the editor feels that, okay, so you cannot use an AI tool to do this yet, no problem. The data still holds. The visualization is still true enough. Instead, you just have to move from Julius, go back to your SPSS and other platforms where you work, feed in the same data, do a bit of extra work, and then get this job done. But it can be done. Yeah, so that's that. With Julius, you can push Julius to do all these different things. You can reason with Julius. You see, all of this is possible here. You basically have an entire workspace at your disposal, and this workspace is also constantly expanding. But this is how simple data visualization can be. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Patil. Happy you enjoy Julius. Thank you, Dr. Lavanya. Yeah, Dr. Thi, I think that's a very important question. When it comes to Julius, Julius has a good reputation all around, and Julius has partnerships with multiple reputed institutions. But that alone must not be enough. You should keep doing your due diligence every so often to make sure that the journal guidelines are evolving to ensure you can use Julius hassle free. But then also go into the tool itself, do simple Google searches, be on discussion forums to ensure that there are no data breach complaints against a company. Applies for every other. Yeah, I think you can, Dr. Shetty. So you want to ask for a post-hoc analysis after ANOVA. Glad you liked it, Amrita. Yeah, so it uses the Tukey's HSD and runs a post-hoc analysis. So I think post-hoc is something very much within the capabilities of Julius. These are all very straightforward things, right? It's only when you cannot define an analysis, when you have data that is spread across multiple directions with multiple variables, you're still trying to figure out what fits where. That is when using AI becomes tricky. But all of these straightforward tests, straightforward analysis, they work amazingly well. And for those of you who are working on qualitative data, remember Insight 7, you should definitely give it a try. It brings out really beautiful insights, giving you a head start on whatever you are trying to do. So the next few minutes, I'll wind up in the next 5 minutes so that we can allow for a Q&A for the final 5 minutes before we say our goodbyes.
Ma'am, already we discussed this point in the first lecture, Gamma. I think audience might have some idea about this app.
Yeah. So Gamma is where you can simply create with AI, create by your own, or you can simply import a file, any kind of file you have, and then convert it into presentations that look like this in less than a minute. And also where you can, so this is not like creating images. Why creating images is controversial? Because you don't have any say in it. Whereas when you use tools like Gamma, the complete text is editable. You can edit text, you can edit images, you can add images, you can push create different versions of the same image using this edit feature with AI, which means not this edit feature. You can no, Gamma has not, okay, Gamma does not have the, that's Canva, not Gamma. So on Canva, you can simply prompt and create additional images. On Gamma, you just have to create it elsewhere and bring it here. Okay. So this is Gamma. And when you're talking about imaging tools, I would say eDrawMax is one tool where you can quickly bring together the power of template-based creation and your AI factors as well. So eDrawMax, you write prompts on eDrawMind, create something, and then, so eDrawMax essentially is an imaging tool. Here, you have these templates for anything you want to create. And this works across multiple fields if you want. But since we are catering to two institutions. One is a technological university. Maybe you work with design and stuff, but then also in pharmaceutical research. When it comes to life sciences, medical sciences, pharmaceutical sciences, and all allied fields, biorender has to be your go-to. There is nothing that can beat biorender. Of course, it is costly, but if you can have access to biorender as an institution, I think that will be one of your best decisions. Forward simple hassle. But if you're trying to create anything else, non-biological items, for instance, that is when eDrawMax can come in handy with all of these different templates you can pick. And then you have tools like eDraw AI, where I think I have run out of credits, but you can simply describe a image that you want, just like how we did with Answer This. This is again limited, so you can only create these 10 different kinds of images, but you can simply describe the image you have in your head, describe the graph you have in your head, and eDrawMax will convert the graph or convert the idea into a proper graph. The best part is this is not completely AI generated. You get to edit in between. You get to add inputs in between, which means images created using the eDraw AI will not exactly qualify as AI generated images. You just have to declare it, and you might be even able to use it within the main text of your scripts. And then if there is one final tool I would want to leave you all with, it is this tool called Visme. So Visme has a lot many applications. One of the nice applications is visualizations, where you can simply pick a graph of your choice, and the graph opens up with an Excel sheet on a left panel, and you can simply manipulate the data to get the corresponding changes in the graph. I'll show you what I exactly mean. Okay, I'll pick a simple graph. You can pick any graph you want. So I basically want to represent some data I have in a bar chart format. Okay. So I like this bar chart. I like the colors. I can also change the colors. All of that is possible. I can change the font size. But what is more interesting is, okay, see, I have already converted this into, instead of fruits, I have just converted into different diseases. Say, for instance, once you have COVID, percent chance that you get it increases by 10%. And then when you, percentage chance of liver diseases goes by 20%, kidney goes up by 15%, and for heart diseases, it goes up by 50%. So now I don't have to do anything. I just have to change the data here, and then the corresponding changes are made into the picture or made into the graph. The good thing is, great graphs, if we are not thinking about representing your, say, your significance, your SD, SEM and stuff. But if you just want this graph as a visualization, any part of your presentation, any part where it does not have to be perfect, it just has to make sense, then Visme is a great place. And this is just one of the applications on Visme. You see, it works from presentations to forms and surveys to infographics to web graphics, printables. Visme has a whole array of possibilities. But this is one of my favorite features simply because it helps you go from to a quick visualization without much efforts whatsoever, especially when you're thinking in terms of presenting something in your in a talk and whatnot. But when it comes to accuracy, when it comes to the statistical metrics all in the right places, you should still move back to tools like Julius for visualization, because you want it to be statistically accurate as well. So that kind of brings my talking part of this to an end. So I just close my columns, stop sharing, come back to the chat box. Yeah, so if some of you want to unmute and then ask a few questions, please feel free to do so. I'm also taking up the questions in the chat box. Just a moment.
Participant, you can
Just
unmute.
sharing the links so that those of you, if you joined late, you can still have link to my LinkedIn and to the form so that you get all the resources on time. Okay, so yeah, Dr. Patil, which tool are you talking about? Is it none of the tools are free? So I think I can give you the blanket answer to all of this. None of the tools I talked about towards the end are free. Max has a pro version, it has a paid version. Visme has a paid version. So you can try out the tools for free, but they're not completely free. So Dr. Kalavati, Insight 7, you can simply upload your focus group data, your interview data, for instance. Do it in a simple Word document, do it as an Excel sheet, and then you can ask Insight 7 to come up with the key insights from these different responses. Or say, if you are looking for a very directional insight, you can also ask, say, for instance, I have a focus group data or interview data, whatever, that talks about how people have increased joint pains, how they have increased mood swings after COVID-19. Now, this is more of a qualitative data. So, how has COVID-19 impacted you in terms of joint pains and in terms of migraines, in terms of mood swings? Because HACCP is more of a quantitative data, how is more of a qualitative data, right? And then I upload it into Insight 7. And then I ask, okay, so bring me insights specifically about mood swing women, for instance, because I want to understand if the female hormones were more affected by COVID-19, or how have been the female experiences specifically have been in terms of mood swings, in terms of whatever. So I know this is not exactly a completely qualitative question. It's more of a mixed methods question I think I picked, but you get the drift. So upload data, ask simple questions, Insight 7 brings you the answers. Dr. Mittal, no, the images that you create out of eDramas are on the pro version. They don't have any copyright issues or plagiarism issues. So any other quick questions before we wind up?
Yes, participant, you can please unmute and you can please ask your questions, or you can give your valuable feedback also if you want.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir,
Yeah.
please.
You are on.
Ma'am, you are using which one? Zotero. Yeah, I think Zotero. Okay, so is it a software or a mobile app?
Zotero is a software. It works better on your laptop.
Okay, because I got even Google Chrome also, so I want to ask
No, if you want to
using, which is a
have
software.
Yeah, it is a proper tool that you have to install on your laptop.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you want to have a tool on your mobile for keeping track of your literature, you should try out something called R Discovery. Capital R, R,
Okay.
basically the letter R followed
Okay.
by Discovery. That is a mobile app where you can keep track of all the latest literature in your field.
Okay.
You can set filters, you can set your specific areas of research, and anytime there is a new paper, you'll get an alert. And every single morning, it will share one or two papers that you missed out in your collection. You can create your literature collection there, and eventually you will have to move it to Zotero, move it to Mendeley, EndNote, or Paperpile, wherever you want to work.
And it's a free plan?
R Discovery has a lot of free features. Yes.
Okay.
R Discovery is also from Editage. It's a part of the PaperPal package, but yes, it has several free features. You can try it out.
And ma'am, I also want to ask, if I'm a researcher, for example, I'm a researcher and I want to put my profile on a mobile app. So any app which is work for that, like that type of things.
You want to buy what, sir?
Actually, for example, if I want to be a researcher, good researcher, and I want to make my profile on a mobile app. So
Okay.
any one app which is maintain these all things means I have whatever I have published.
It's basically to enhance your CV, you mean. Keep track of your achievements and then bring you a CV, right?
Yes.
I have not worked in that area, so I'm not really sure if I can give you a suggestion, but something should exist with all of this AI around. Should be possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, audience, any other question?
The lecture.
Yes, please continue. Audience, can you please turn on your camera at least so that we can see you once you are asking your questions? So all the audience, kindly please turn on your camera.
Nice to see faces after staring at a blank screen, imagining that you are there, not sleeping or not sleeping away. So, hi.
Now you can ask some questions quickly. So last 2-3 questions we will take and then we'll wind up. Meanwhile, I'll go to take
Hello,
some.
ma'am. Thank you so much for this informative session. It's really very useful for us. Thank you so much for giving the precious
Thank you,
time.
Dr. Rani.
Yes, any other feedback or questions from audience? Kindly please share. Ma'am, I have 2 questions.
I'll also share my contact details. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, actually, ma'am, have you tried the DeepSeek? And
Yeah,
what is
I have.
okay? So what is the new finding from your side? So you can use it for our publishing and research.
Okay, so DeepSeek is coming from China, which means it has to tackle its own limitations because they have their own rules and regulations as to what they consider legit, what they don't consider legit. And the information that DeepSeek has access to is heavily censored. So the part of the information, it's not always very balanced information, but definitely works better than ChatGPT most of the times. So can we use it for research? Most of the times, yes, provided that you have a very thorough framework for cross-checking all the information. Most of the cases, these AI tools, the major concern is not always plagiarism, it is not always hallucinations. Omission, I believe, is one of the major concerns. So, what do these tools provide? What do they omit? What do they not talk about? In that sense, DeepSeek might have more omissions simply because of the scrutiny that it has to undergo. But DeepSeek works well. It works only once or twice in a day for you, I believe. At least say after 4 or 5 times, the server is busy. You're not allowed to ask more questions. But then, yeah, most of the times, DeepSeek is a good inclusion into your set of tools.
Okay, ma'am, thank you. And my second question is actually, as we are in GTU, in Gujarat Technology University, we used to evaluate our students' paper by online only. They used to give us the paper by scanning all the students' paper. So there are some incidents what I have seen in few years back that in some classroom the students seated for the same exam, 30 student and 30 student another class. So when the result come, 30 student get passed and another 30 student get failed. It means there are two evaluator evaluated the papers, and from one evaluator all the students get passed and another student get failed. So it means that the evaluation criteria what the with the faculty is having, it might be different. So there are any tools like that who can evaluate those answer with some key points or some keywords and give some standard kind of evaluation. So I think that can be revolution can come in future due to this AI. So do you think is there any kind of paper evaluation technique or AI is there existing right now? Because there is a field I think the IT people can work on, because some papers the students get failed, but by the other faculties the student get passed. So this a biasness happens. So I think it has to be standardized. What is your opinion, ma'am, in this?
So this good, there's a company called Eclavia. I'm just finding things for you. So they work on assessments. They work on online, offline assessments and stuff. So they also work with industry. They are also developing solutions exclusively for the education requirements. I've shared the link into the chat box. So there are one is where you need an AI tool where you can automate these assessments, where you can evaluate them through automation. But automation comes with its own problems because when the human teacher, you look at the content from 30 different students, not all 30 of them write the same. They express the same information. They kind of showcase their knowledge in a topic, but in very different ways at different levels. And we normally, as human teachers, we tend to level it up with the with where the students are. We don't penalize them just because they misplaced one or two words. But when you automate it without much thought put into it or without much advanced models, what happens is these assessments become very rigid and the students also miss out on it. So, what I feel is when it comes to assessments, maybe you have to have a layered approach where there is an AI component if you so want, but then there should also be a component where the human teachers also play a huge part in making sure that the assessments are not biased. Because when you bring in AI, one of the first biases is language. A student who has good English will be biased or will be placed in a higher grade than a student who has the knowledge but does not have the language. A human teacher who has interacted with the classroom will know the difference between these two, and AI might not know. So there are a lot many questions around this. But
And
I
also
think this is a
handwriting
great
also,
set of
the handwriting also,
handwriting. Yeah,
this
but
also.
then once you want AI to take over, I think you will have to convert all of them into proper digital documents and take handwriting away from the equation, and then you know then do the assessment. So I have a question from
I feel that training the teachers in proper will solve the problem. When you
Dr.
using
Reshma, we lost you because your
their
voice is breaking.
training the teachers so
I just
that
wanted to
harassment should
say
not.
that this Eclavia tool that you specified, we have that app in our institute, and we have been using it now. And they have the facility of giving answer key also. So if answer key is provided and if answer key specifies the important points, then I think the kind of problem that you arrive, 30 students passing and 30 students failing, that you will not face. Because then the faculties have to follow that answer key, not word to word, but at least the key points, if they are followed, then there will be a kind of common platform, and that problem uh, won't arise. I mean, you won't face any such problem.
So what platform is that, Dr. Reshma? Which platform you're talking about? Eclavia. Yeah. So Eclavia is a kind of a
Yes.
home
So that,
brand here in India. So
okay.
that is something you can try and fine tune for your own institutions.
Yes. Okay. Anyway, any questions? Any last question from the audience?
Yeah,
Last.
Dr. Suman has a question where he would like to know about tools other than eDrawMax. So when we talk about tools for diagrams, Mind the Graph is a possibility. And then there are also non-AI tools like Inkscape, for instance. So Inkscape has a learning curve, but it is a vector tool. I'm giving the names in the chat box. So Mind the Graph is pretty similar to BioRender, but Inkscape has a learning where you have to learn drawing the vector diagrams. But once you cross the learning curve, Inkscape, it's completely free and the possibilities are endless. It is an extended version of your Paint and Microsoft PowerPoint. You can only draw in pixels, whereas on Inkscape you can draw using vector. And apart from that, Canva to a certain extent, maybe. What else? These are the things I can think of as of now.
So I think we are at the end of the session. No more question.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are we're at the end of the session now. So, ma'am, thank you for this wonderful session. I again believe that all
Thank
the
you.
participants has received so much knowledge from you. And please accept this certificate of appreciation from Sardar Patel College of Pharmacy and GTU as a token of our gratitude and recognition of your invaluable contribution. Kindly accept this certificate, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So I look forward to seeing you all on a different session, more intensive sessions. Where
yes, so actually we need a offline session. Yes.
Yeah. So good luck with your writing.
Yes. So thank you. At the last, we are at the end of this valedictory session. So just give me a second. So good evening all. So it is my immense pleasure to be present over here and a heartfelt gratitude that I stand before you today. Today is the successful conclusion of our 3-day national level online workshop on ethical use of AI in higher education, research and productivity, jointly organized by Sardar Patel College of Pharmacy in association with GTU and Clarivate. So over the last 3 days, we witnessed a confluence of knowledge, innovation, and ethical insights into the rapidly evolving world of AI. Our expert speaker, Mr. Sabu Thomas, Dr. Nilesh Kumbar, Dr. K. Sumanani ma'am, who is present right now, Dr. Shubhashi Nag, enlighten us with thought-provoking session on generative AI tools, academic writing, plagiarism detection, journal selection, and responsible AI use in literature review and publishing. So this workshop was not just a routine academic gathering. It was a dynamic learning platform that brought together more than 310 enthusiastic participants from diverse backgrounds across the country. The overwhelming response speaks volume about the growing curiosity and commitment of the academic community towards understanding and leveraging AI responsibly. So I extend my sincere thanks to our patrons, Mr. Girish Patel sir, Mr. Shital Patel sir, convener Dr. Dhabal Patel sir, coordinator sir me, and as well as Dr. Rahil Bura sir, and every members of this organizing committee for their seamless planning and excursions. So to the participants, thank you for your active involvement, insightful questions, and commitment to learning. Your participation has made this workshop a grand success. As we conclude, let us carry forward the learning of these 3 days, applying them with responsibility and purpose. So may we continue to explore, innovate, and educate ethically and effectively. So thank you once again. Wishing you all continued success and growth. Jai Hind. So meanwhile, I'm going to share the today's feedback form. I request all the participants kindly please fill the feedback form. Your feedback is very much crucial for us to improve our sessions. Just 1 second. So if anyone like to give feedback, you can also unmute and you can also please give your feedback, how you feel the 3-day session. Anybody want
It's
to
very
give?
informative, sir. And it's very informative session, sir. And thank you so much for making the part of this workshop. It's really very informative and useful for us as we are doing it, the research work.
Exactly. So AI is continuously evolving. We must be up to date because there are new tools coming day by day. So you have to be very update
Yes, sir.
and please follow some people who are in this area so that you will get update. Like Sowmiya Rani ma'am, she is very active in LinkedIn and definitely you will get lots of knowledge from her. Anybody would like to share something? Please, you can unmute and you can please share. So I have shared already the feedback form in the chat box. You can please fill the
I
feedback
would
form.
like to say just two lines. You know, people always have that fear in the mind that will AI replace humans? And you know, before joining this session, I was thinking that, you cannot, everywhere you cannot use AI because there has to be some human qualities involved in every task. But after joining this session, my view has changed. It has, taught me how to effectively use AI and where to use it, where not to use it, and how to use it. Okay, and that constant debate of whether AI can replace humans. Definitely, AI cannot replace humans, but yes, AI will help companies to choose humans which can use proper AI commands and which are experts in using AI. So I think all of us has to have to be updated about AI. That is the need of the hour. And thank you, sir, for arranging, and your college also for arranging this session. It was really very informative. Got to know so many things about AI, so many apps, so many sites, how exactly to write a paper, how to arrange your references, how to extract information, from where to extract information. It was really a very informative session. And thanks a lot for that. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, ma'am, for your kind words. Really, your good feedback, your positive feedback boost us to arrange this kind of sessions. Thank you again. And anybody like to say something? Please, you can unmute and share your views. Because we are sitting in virtually, not in physically. If we sit in physically, we used to conversation easily, but in virtual mode, we have to uh, speak like that only. If you want to feel something, you can just speak out.
I would like to thank Dr. Samaresh and Sardar Patel College for organizing this excellent workshop. It really has, added to our knowledge, and it is very useful to be applied to our research in the future also. So I hope, I look forward to many more workshops to be, that we can and, enhance our knowledge of this. Thank you very much. And Dr. Sowmiya, thanks you so much for an excellent session. Thanks for guiding
Hello,
us along.
sir. I'm speaking from Chennai.
Yes, sir, please.
I'm thinking, well, last time also I used to attend the seminar. That is
Yes,
fantastic.
yes, MDP, yes.
Again, you have made one more workshop also. Excellently, you have organized it. Congratulations to your organizing team, first of all. And all I don't know how you have selected the speaker. I think you would have used any AI tool for selection of the speaker for this. Everyone today, yesterday, day before yesterday,
Yes, yes.
everyone has fantastic. If you see this YouTube, how many views have gone? But within a day, lot of the views have gone, and I too have read all the videos. See, really it was wonderful for the 3 days. For me, wonderful, helpful also. I used to publish a lot of the paper with the Good Impact Factor Journal. Earlier, for preparation of the manuscript, I spent 20 days time for the one paper. I am pharmaceutics person. But now with this AI knowledge and all, we can make it, I think within a couple of within 1 week, we can make it, I think. So our time could have been saved by using this software. That is the thing I'm telling, not going any shortcut, but it is really, it is a fantastic and well organized day, and continue this. And one more, keep the WhatsApp group active.
Sure,
Okay,
sure, sure.
in the
Definitely,
future.
we'll update. Thank you, sir. We'll update everything, whatever we'll get new things, we'll update in the WhatsApp group. Because after arranging this FDP, what I thought that because in FDP people are listening and they are going. So in this workshop, if they learn something, so they can do, they can apply their knowledge.
Right.
So they understand what is the research, how to write paper. But if you're not having that skill, how to write it by using AI, so that's why I thought why not to keep continuously one more workshop so that people can try or learn it by as a hands-on training and they can apply. So I believe
sir.
that audience who
Yes,
has
very good.
listen it continuously, they can apply and they can publish good papers. And definitely, please याद करना मुझे just just
And
remember me that I have
I
helped.
see a lot of the professors are attending this, and I really wondering. Everyone wants to learn, even at this age. I am 55 years old, but everyone I can see the age. A lot of the professors are there here. Everyone wants to learn something. Really, it is fantastic. Congratulations, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Your words, lots of uh, very positive people of feedback. Thank you again, sir. Okay, anybody want to say something, or else we are going to wind up the session?
Dr. Samresh, this is Dr. Deepak Yadav. It was a very fantastic session, very good workshop, useful for researchers, right? Useful for teachers. So I must congratulate you and the speakers, right? And one thing that can be improved is the punctuality. So it can be, if it could have been started on time, it would be 6 out of 5, right?
Yes, actually, it's happened in the
So
past
that
day. I
is
can
one thing.
understand.
And the
Yeah.
second thing is that,
Yes.
but otherwise, it's a fantastic session. Yeah, very useful workshop, and congratulate you for this, and all, not only you but all the organizers. So I'll be attending in the future also. So for organizing, and we'll be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your positive feedback. Okay. Any other feedback from your side? So regarding your certificates, so we're going to release it by on or before Tuesday, because we need to evaluate something, your feedback and all. It will take some time. So maybe Monday or Tuesday, we're going to share your certificate to your respective email ID. You will get it. Okay, anything else? Any other feedbacks? Any other suggestions? Please, you are free to talk. I believe there will be no other questions. We are going to conclude our session. Thank you. Thank you everyone to listening us and to attending this
Hello.
workshop. Yes, sir, please.
Yes, sir. It's Sushil Pawar. I attended your earlier seminar also.
Okay.
So can I get the videos of recording of the earlier videos also, or earlier seminar?
Yes, yes, yes. So
If you
once
have,
you go to the link, actually you're there, sir, in the WhatsApp group.
yeah, I am in the WhatsApp group. Their PPT
Ah.
is there, not the videos.
No, already I've shared the YouTube link. Once you clear the link, the YouTube channel is having all the
Okay.
videos. Okay. So once you
Okay.
receive only one
Okay.
video, you can go through all the video. So you
Okay.
can just click the video and you will go to the channel. Once you click the channel, you will get all the videos. Still, I'm going to share all the 3
Also the
days
first day of
recording.
the seminar.
Yeah. It is all
Okay.
for
Thank you.
FDP, for
Thank you, sir.
workshop.
Thank
We
you
are
for this
keeping
opportunity.
everything. So you can watch it as per your convenience.
Where is the next webinar, sir, planning?
Sir, already we have completed 2, but we have to now concentrate on our other work because I have to engage totally for this workshop for a few days. So now we are having some other commitment. So maybe after
Okay.
6 months we
Whenever
can
you
think.
just
Yeah, definitely. You just
yeah,
be there in the
that
WhatsApp group. We'll update because I think there are
yeah.
some more area we have to touch,
Sure.
like statistical analysis, as ma'am told, like SPSS,
Okay,
R.
sir.
So this software, how to use it. So this is the area also. There are few people having some dilemma. So we can also arrange some
Yeah.
session on this, but not now, in future.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you a
Actually,
lot.
we wanted some more workshops on creating animations for educational purpose, creating educational videos, and
Okay.
graphics and such things. If it's
Yes, yes,
possible, then it would be very useful to us as educators.
yes, yes. Yes, there are some tools are there. So you can by giving your the text, the video will going to develop. So yes, you can also arrange such kind of workshop for the educators. Okay, any other? Okay, so then we are going to conclude our uh, workshop on AI sessions. Thank you everyone for listening us and to make this session successful. Thank you.